Hey there, you're listening to You Still Going On About That with Rob Israel and Joseph K. You can find us anywhere you could download podcasts. You could also find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at YSGOAT. Thanks for listening.
I'm Rob Israel.
I'm Joseph K.
You still going on about
that?
All right, Joseph. It's October 11th.
Yeah.
You know what Friday is?
It's Friday the 13th. I just noticed that.
Wow, that's weird, right? Does that make it more Friday the 13th because it's on a Halloween? That makes it more?
Yeah, I think an October Friday the 13th is a little amped up, a little escalated from a regular Friday the 13th.
A little more juiced up.
Yeah. I remember I used to, back when I was a kid, on Saturday the 14th, they used to show that classic film, Saturday the 14th.
Was terrible.
Yeah. It was really
that movie. I remember as a kid seeing only like a few seconds of it, and it like imprinted on me some of the weird scenes. But then I remember watching it, like, I don't know, it was a while ago, but
like it was real bad.
It was bad. I mean, like, it wasn't even like, it was really bad. There's like, I don't know how to explain it. Yeah, it just looked like shit. It looked like one of those shitty movies you see on like on Prime. You ever like going, like, you see a movie and you're like, is this gonna be garbage? And then like you take the gamble, and 90% of the time it's usually trash.
It's garbage. Yeah.
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 Did have a young what's his face though? Guy from the dad from Arrested Development.
Yeah.
Tambor is his name.
Yep. Is it Jeffrey Tambor?
Jeffrey Tambor, yeah, he played Dracula or something.
Yeah. I thought there were some other people in there. Well, Joe Flaherty was not in there, was he?
I don't know. He always played that low budget vampire.
Yeah. Yeah. What was that on? Was that on SCTV?
That was SCTV, but he was that character in a couple of things. I remember one of the best was in the Halloween episode of Freaks and Geeks. He was dressed up as that. Because he was the dad on that show.
Yeah.
I felt so bad for him. I was like, man, he's got I'm like, oh, that's awesome. He's the dad on this. And then the show only lasted like one fucking season.
Yeah.
I was like,
that was a great show, though.
You see what like resurged his career. And it was like, you know, if it just had like one or two more seasons, I think it would have like he would have gotten like so much other work because of it.
Probably. Yeah, he would have.
If you look at like Arrested Development, like what's his face? His whole career is based off of Arrested Development. I mean, like his what's his face?
Are you talking about Jason Bateman? Yeah.
Or even Tambor too. Like, I mean, you know, he got.
Well, we were going to start, honestly, speaking of like things as products. The first thing we were going to talk about is Daredevil.
Yeah, Charlie Cox isn't blind.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, that's a good. Daredevil.
He doesn't have sonar. Charlie Cox isn't blind and also has sonar abilities brought upon by toxic waste that hit his eyes when he tried saving an old man.
Looks nothing like a bat.
Casting a guy to swing on webs and stick to walls, and everyone they cast can't fucking do that.
They shot 8 episodes of this Daredevil reboot, or I guess
it's called like Born Again. So Daredevil Born Again is supposed to be like an 18-episode series, which sounds pretty crazy because most of like Marvel shows are like 6. If it's 6 to 8. She-Hulk was like the longest. It was like 9. It was like, whoa, this show's going on forever.
Right.
Dude, we used to get like seasons over like 22 episodes.
It was routine.
Sometimes 25 episodes, like some seasons.
Some of those seasons of Buffy were like 24 episodes. I know. I mean, it's crazy. But yeah, and you're right. I think a few of them were like 25.
You know, I guess they used a lot of the writer's strike and actor's strike. It gave them a lot of time to reflect. They looked at the failure of Secret Invasion, and they looked at it into like, hey, you know what? Maybe we should actually hire like a showrunner.
Yeah.
Someone who actually understands how TV works. Like the biggest problem has been for Marvel, where I say She-Hulk succeeded, was they just seem like they're extended movies, and like it's very rare that like an episode just works on its own. Like the first season of Loki, I think there's a couple episodes within it where it feels episodic and each episode can work on its own. Like you still need to watch the entire show.
Yeah.
But like it doesn't just, it's not like a blur like most Netflix shows where it's just like a continuous, like,
right.
You know, we're just watching a 10-hour movie here, really. This is She-Hulk worked because it was like we had that Daredevil episode and it just worked. It was like a beginning, middle, and most of these shows on streaming services do not have beginning, middle, and ends. We have a beginning, and then maybe a part of the middle, and then that will continue second, third, and fourth episode.
It's funny. I thought like Cowboy Bebop, even though that got axed pretty quickly, I thought that reboot, the live action one, I thought that worked well in that sense.
They had the anime to
to reference
work off of. And the anime was same thing with like One Piece, but I'm talking about like Moon Knight. My biggest issue with Moon Knight was I wish he had like other villain stuff, like a villain. I wouldn't mind like one or two villain of the weeks. That's why Mandalorian worked season 1 and 2 the most.
Yeah, for sure.
Was because most of the episodes were like individual episodes. And season 3 had that too, but like, I remember they got all mad. People got mad about the Jack Black episode. I'm like, that episode was brilliant.
That was like great.
That was like one of the best episodes.
It was real fun.
It was fun.
The new Star Trek is real good at that, being episodic, but also having an arc.
So I think that's what they need to do with Daredevil. And then I think what they say, like, it leaked that. So yeah, they filmed 8 episodes, and now they're supposedly scrapping the entire thing. Charlie Cox is still going to be Daredevil, which is good. But like literally, it's like they're just starting over, which is pretty crazy. I mean,
that's real bizarre.
So we're clearly probably not going to see this show now until 2025.
Probably not. Yeah.
But originally it was going to be. Now, what did you tell me? We were talking about this before.
They said, that the opening scenes were going to be of Daredevil not being Daredevil anymore because he was sad because he couldn't prevent the death of Foggy and what's that woman's name? Karen? Who's the
Karen Allen, I think, or something like that.
And those two characters, that Daredevil was in state of depression.
But they would have died off screen then because they were.
Yes, they would have died off
in season 3.
Yes, but they would have died off screen. We would have seen Daredevil a year after that happened, no longer really daredeviling, but instead working as an attorney. And the Punisher would be Mayor, and the Punisher would be obviously being very. Not the Kingpin would be Mayor, and still being all organized crimey, but also keeping a handle on like street level crime. Like kind of presenting an aura.
Like he wouldn't be in the costume until the 4th episode.
Yeah, just crazy.
It's like, I'm so sick of that shit. He should be Daredevil. I want him in the fucking costume. The first scene of the fucking show.
Exactly. The very first costume should be him Daredeviling.
We already saw the costume in She-Hulk. Yeah. Like if anything, maybe we learn this season he's in that, but then he gets his red costume.
Yeah.
You could have that be like one of the episodes, like where he's like, "I need to be a little more inconspicuous" or something.
And they said that
red is putting a target on me.
They said it was essentially going to be a legal procedural or something, and TV has like 7,000. Courtroom procedurals and 0 Daredevils like currently. So
I don't mind the courtroom stuff. It's just like I don't want to hear this bullshit that you got to wait 4 episodes for him to be Daredevil. That's dumb.
That's dumb. Anyway, they're rebooting the reboot. They're going to start from scratch. I do like that they're going to keep doing the project.
They want to make it as dark as the Netflix show, right?
It's stupid. The Netflix show was like literally dark. Like
it was like
I had to adjust my TV.
I want some fucking humor in it. I'm sorry. I want some humor. Like everyone like has this like I don't know. Like I don't expect to be stupid. I don't want like Thor Love and Thunder, but like I want a little bit of I don't expect to be like She-Hulk, but I don't want it to be this like constant over like just miserable. You know,
I mean Daredevil and I was only a casual fan of the comic, if that. Daredevil was not a funny book, you know what I mean? Like Spider-Man was real funny.
You're probably thinking post Frank Miller like redefined the character, and like everything that we know about Daredevil now really comes from that when he comes in like 158 and brings in Elektra and Kingpin. The joke is Kingpin never met Daredevil in the comics until the 80s, like the early 80s. Like Daredevil, everyone, like they always tie Kingpin now. Like in the first movie, Kingpin was the villain. In the show, Kingpin's the villain. Kingpin was always a Spider-Man villain. He was
I remember that.
In the late 60s. And he doesn't even meet Daredevil until some nerdy shit here, because I picked this up a couple years ago. Daredevil 170, which came out in like the really early 80s. So you're talking like a character who's been around for like almost 15 years and not meeting, they don't meet. Then they became their arch villains. I don't give a shit. They don't need to do that on the show. They can make Kingpin the main villain. I'm just saying, I always found that interesting. Same thing with like Sabretooth. Sabretooth's like Wolverine's like main enemy. But Sabretooth was around for years until they had him even fight Wolverine. It was like Sabretooth was introduced in the late 70s and they didn't fight until like the mid 80s.
Yeah.
He was like a Iron Fist villain.
Jeez, yeah.
Yeah.
I actually read a ton of the Spider-Man books back then. I even subscribed to a few of them. I remember for a long time there was like, what was it? The Spectacular Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man. What was that one? Wasn't there one called Peter Parker?
It's the same. It was Peter Parker's Spectacular Spider-Man. It's like super long ass name.
Yeah, there's like several books, and they all had like a different vibe to them.
I always like Amazing was always better.
That was the standard bearer. Anyway, I'm glad they're gonna keep making the show. I think it's a little these things should be so simple. I mean, I get that there's a knack to bringing a comic book to life, but like they cracked that nut and now they know how to do it. So like just keep doing it.
They brought Kingpin into Hawkeye. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Introducing Daredevil. And it'd actually be kind of funny if they did bring back Iron Fist and they did introduce Sabretooth in Iron Fist, as opposed to having him show up in the X-Men first movie. Like you introduce Sabretooth first, and then you put the connections later to Wolverine.
Yeah,
like
that'd be good.
That would be really fun. And it would confuse the audience. You'd be like, wait, isn't he like a X-Men villain? I'd be like, and that's where nerds like me could chime in and be like, well, actually, his first appearance was in Iron Fist 14.
Yeah. No, I like that. Make mine Marvel.
Enough said.
Enough said, yeah.
No prize you would have not received. Remember that? The no prize? You know about that?
I don't remember that.
It was like I guess like if you wrote a letter and found a mistake in a comic, you got a no prize.
Oh, huh.
And I always wanted them, and I realized I'm like, wait, what is no prize? And it's literally in the title. They would literally like send you an empty envelope. There's a no prize.
That's funny.
Yeah, it is funny actually. But I'd be like, what is it? It's like, it's in the name, you dumbass.
No prize.
Literally.
Well,
so they fight. Yeah, I mean, like, we have to wait a little longer, but fine. I mean, I want a better show. If it means it's a better show, I hope. I mean, of course, it couldn't lead to it being another fucking mess.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what lessons they think they learned.
I want to see multiple villains in the season. I don't want this dragged out bullshit. Daredevil fights like a bunch of generic ass villains in a hallway.
Yeah.
We've seen that already in season 1, and then he fights Kingpin like for one episode in the last season.
Yeah,
I want to see fucking Stilt Man. I want to see the Gladiator, Owlman, like some of his cheesy villains from back in the 60s. Like, I want an episode where the whole episode is him fighting Owlman.
Yeah.
Or the owl. Sorry, it's the owl. And like that would be cool. And then you can have the lore, kind of like how Buffy was. You have the villain of the week, but then they would be building up the main villain in the background. You have Kingpin like doing Kingpin shit throughout the series.
That would make perfect sense. Like
they
the
don't
Kingpin
fight until the end.
Yeah.
That's fine. I don't care. But like, I want to see him fighting villain of the weeks or villain of the 2 weeks. You know, you split it. You fine, do 2 episodes. Who
Yeah.
cares? Like, Stiltman's a great character, and it would work in Marvel, like in MCU, because his literally. Do you know what Stiltman is?
No, I've not.
Just
I don't
imagine like
remember
if
that.
Iron Man had like legs that just literally extended, like
It's like
still
Gadget, Go Gadget.
kind of, yeah, like it's like an Iron Man type suit, but he has legs. And they kind of already did that with She-Hulk with the frog guy.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Remember? Like
Yep, I
leapfrog.
do.
Like I want to see shit. I mean, it doesn't have to be as corny as that, because that was definitely made for laughs. The whole
Right.
that was so good because it reminded you he had a lair. He looked like the
Yeah.
Batman TV show a little bit, you know. It was kind of like Batman show.
Yeah.
Like that. It doesn't have to be so goofy, but like I want to see multiple villains. I know it costs them a much, but does it? It doesn't cost that much. It doesn't have to be like I don't get it. Like I don't need to have like this plot just dragging ass.
Yeah.
Like
That's the thing, is that some of them, some of the shows, they drag, and it doesn't need to. These are comic book properties. They should be quick. You know,
you don't want to blow like your entire load throughout the season, but like you can, and like you mentioned, Stiltman. Well, guess what? If you get to season 2, Stiltman can come back and be a bigger threat the second time around.
Yeah,
and,
I mean, like, all that would work. But
the Flash would do on CW. The Flash would do that. There would be some good episodes where like some Rogues Gallery characters would show up and it would take up an episode or two, and those were always the best episodes. The ones where it's like he just fought like a villain of the week that was from the comics. It wasn't like some dragged out storyline from, and it just like I don't know. So I hope, and like I said, the fact that they're getting a showrunner means it's like, oh yeah, like we really need to treat these like more like TV shows, especially if we're doing 18 episodes. Like
that's a lot. Yeah.
Like I get it. If it's 6 episodes, I get how it can end up coming off like a big movie, but
yeah, it almost is unavoidable at that point. But yeah,
like the Moon Knight was cool, but like I felt like they dragged out everything. So you only got Moon Knight in like 2 episodes. Actual Moon Knight.
Yeah, Moon Knight was good in a lot of ways, just because Oscar Isaac was really good.
Yeah.
It had a lot going for it, but the pacing was wonky. That's always been the problem with these Marvel shows, in my opinion, is the pacing's off.
Shows too.
Yeah. They just don't know what to do with that order, that episode order. You know, like a lot of them seem like they probably would have worked better as 18 episode seasons, because you could have had a lot more fun with it. Or as a movie, but like
Ahsoka,
a 6-episode.
A good example of Ahsoka is like, okay, you had the show be 8 episodes. Episode 1 and 2 should have been one. First episode.
Yep.
Sabine in the end decides to go with Ahsoka. That's the end of the first episode.
Yeah.
All right, let's move this train now. And then the second episode could have been them fighting Merc, whatever the fuck that thing was called. Yep. And then you could have had an episode that established who like Balin and his like apprentice or whatever were. You know what I mean? Like you develop that more. Or you do an episode that like explains like what the fuck was Ezra doing for the past 10 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Back then you would have had a whole episode of just Ezra surviving. You know, like that would have been the episode. Like
I would have been fine with that. The whole episode was him, like
like literally him escaping Thrawn.
Yeah, like how the fuck did you avoid Thrawn? Why did Thrawn let you even live? Like,
stumbling across you would have, like in the 80s, you would have had the next episode would have been Sabine saying.
They have shows like that now where they will do like a whole episode be a flashback. Well, and they'll usually do that. There'd be like a big reveal in the end of an episode, and then you think it's going to continue to the next episode, but really the next episode is like a how we got here type thing.
Yeah.
And then you waited a week, and then you get to really confront the bad guy in the next episode. Done that. I mean, like Ahsoka was good, but like it could have been better.
Yeah, I liked it just fine. I'll tell you, and where we might disagree a little is Loki returned this last week.
Yeah.
And I was a little underwhelmed by it.
I don't know what to think of it either. I wasn't like blown away, but one thing I think that the show has going for it and immediately it's just like, it just made Secret Invasion look like complete
Oh yeah.
shit, because this show is designed so well. What's his
It
face?
looks great.
Is amazing in it. What's his name? The
You're talking
guy.
about Tom Hiddleston or Owen
No,
Wilson?
the new actor, the guy plays Short Round, and
Oh, Obi. Yeah, the guy who plays Obi. I forget his
yeah,
real
he's
name.
great. Like, he was such a great, like, he's
Yeah.
like, they have to be kicking themselves for, like, I was thinking about this, like, Indiana Jones like didn't do well. My God, if they announced that even before that movie came out, Everything Everywhere All at Once, which
Yeah.
definitely resurged this guy's career.
Oh, yeah.
But man, if they
Resuscitated
got
it.
him to come back and be Short Round
Oh,
in
yeah.
what's his name anyway? Oh, Ki Kwan. If they
Oh, yeah,
brought him
yeah.
back to play Short Round in Indiana Jones and he was in the movie, I think way more people would have went to go see it. I think, like, I'm sorry, but like, I was like thinking about this. I'm like, why didn't it do well? And it's like, all right, what's the woman's name who's plays like the daughter of his friend? And she's like kind of like a Indiana Jones-ish character.
Oh, geez. I don't remember at all.
Hold on.
Yeah. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Phoebe Waller-Bridges. Like,
Oh, yeah,
she
yeah.
was good in the movie, but like, she's not gonna bring people to go see the movie. Like, oh,
No.
I mean, it's insane. It's actually pretty fucking nuts that she was casted, because I'm like, okay, you bring her in and it's like, oh yeah, what was her previous thing? She was on a British show that some people
Some
found
people
on
think it.
Prime. Yeah, I'm not kidding. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that was
like,
it.
how well could it fucking done? This is
Mm.
Prime from years ago, where I
Yeah,
don't even know
yeah.
what numbers were. Like, Prime now is bigger because they have shows like The Boys on there, stuff like that. But like, we're talking like 5, 6 years ago. Like, most people were like, wait, Prime has shows?
Yeah. I still have to
You can
explain
get
that
my
to my
pet
dad.
food that way.
My
What?
dad, my dad recently started watching Prime because they have they show football on Thursday nights. They have like an exclusive football game on Thursday nights, and just trying to like talk him through like what Prime is, as like he's like, well, is it a channel? And I was like, it's not a channel. It's like Netflix. It really baffled him, and
It's
the
a
more I talked about it,
stranger.
I was like,
It's a harder app to navigate than
yeah.
Netflix and the other
Well,
one.
that's it. After I started explaining it to him, I was like, this is kind of confusing. I see where I
But
see
like,
where this.
I mean, like, I think it's absolutely insane that I mean, like, yeah, it's cool they casted her, but like, you really think that was going to get people to go see Indiana Jones? It was her?
Yeah,
Like, I mean, like, like I said, oh, they'd be like, oh, well, they had Shia LaBeouf in Crystal Skull, right? But it was like,
yeah,
he was already in like 2 Transformer movies already at that
yeah.
point, and a bunch of other movies. He was
He
already
was in
proven
that great
made.
video where he just like stood on the sidewalk for 2 hours and
Yeah,
was
I think
like,
that was years later. That was after.
okay.
Yeah, that wasn't. But I mean, like, it's if they got Ki Kwan to come back and play
Oh
short
yeah,
round,
that would have been.
I think people would have been like ecstatic and would have went. They definitely would have made more money,
Yeah.
and especially with it coming off of
Oh yeah,
everywhere.
but they couldn't have foreseen how big, like Everything Everywhere All at Once, like before that came out. I don't think
Yeah,
people
it's the
really.
timing, because like they
Yeah,
made this movie. I don't think people realize too with Indiana Jones. That's probably like, where's Short Round? It's like, dude, they made this movie like 3 years ago. It
yeah.
took forever to fuck. They worked on it so long ago. It was like Indiana Jones was only 50 when they. Harrison Ford was only 55 when they made that movie. When it got released, it was in his 80s.
They only had to de-age him for the last half. They only had to.
Yeah, they didn't have to. Yeah, like, I don't know. Yeah, he's great in Loki. It was fine. I mean, that had a cliffhanger. We talked about
Yes, yeah. I
Ahsoka. Me and Joe had a battle of wits
Oh yes.
on what
My
a cliffhanger is.
my problem, not really problem. Look, when I watched Loki, I sat down to watch it, and immediately I was like, the effects are great, the set is great. I love the guy playing Loki. I love Owen Wilson. Short Round was great. Everything was like clicking, but I'm like, but it just seemed like a lot of racing around, like frantically being nervous about something, but like I didn't didn't see like conflict per se.
Well, it's like it's weird because the way the show ended, it made it look like he entered an alternate reality, and I guess the actual reality is that he went to the past. And
yes,
I guess the past, which could be hundreds of years ago, who knows how many years ago? Because maybe they make that joke about what's his face, Owen Wilson visiting, and Obi remembers him like it was, and he was just stopped by, and it was like 400 years ago.
yeah,
He just stopped by and asked that he like accidentally went there.
right. That was really funny. I thought it was real clever the way like Loki was in the past talking, like giving that guy new memories. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, that was so funny though when they're trying to like, wait,
yeah,
I'm talking to you now. How could you remember this if you're talking in the present? It gets like really confusing.
Yeah, but clearly Loki has become like unstuck in time, and he's.
I like when he would like rip apart, and he's like,
yeah,
how's it feel? He's like, you think it'd be worse.
It looks really bad. Yeah, it was fun. I just kept thinking like, this feels like, I don't know, it just felt like what is happening? You know, like what?
Well, it felt like so like the way the season ended, it made it seem like, okay, because it killed He Who Remains, and then time started to splinter, that he shows up in a reality and they don't know who he is, and you see the Kang statue. It's like, oh shit, I just majorly fucked up time. And really what happened was he just went to the past where I guess they had a Kang statue, and they decided to hide the statue because remember when he puts the
stun stick? It's like a stun stick,
it like destroys the wall and reveals the different Kang faces.
Yeah,
like they were covering it up, and I guess these people have no memory of Kang. Like,
yeah, I didn't understand that part. I mean, I understood what I was watching.
Well, it's like it's interesting, like how it's like. Because they even said they didn't realize like they're all variants and like they had lives outside of this world, and it's like these people, like, do they get their memories wiped constantly? They don't, like, you know, it's like how Owen Wilson's character like has this love of jet skis, so like clearly in a normal reality where he probably lives in like the 80s or 90s, he has a jet ski or had one, you know what I mean, or wanted one.
Yeah,
that's like a lingering thing.
I think they explained that in like an episode of the prior season, and it's exactly what you're saying. Like he got plucked from, I don't know, a timeline
because
where
they
he was
show what's her face, Ravonna, or
oh, that's right,
that she was a school teacher,
in
a different like reality or variant. So I mean, it's a good episode. It's not amazing, but just watching that and looking at it, like the art direction involved, the dialogue, the pacing, like the special effects, like when they have Owen Wilson go out in that crazy costume with that huge tube to like, I don't know what he's doing. He's like trying to like get Loki, pull him out of the time stream or something. And like that scene just looked amazing. Like
it did.
You didn't have any of that in Secret Invasion.
No, the episode was about 45 minutes long. It felt like a movie, like movie quality. It looked real good. The cast is like uniformly fun and good. It just, to me, I at the end of it, I was like, well, what happened here? Like how did we advance the plot or the narrative at all?
Yeah, that's the only. Not a lot happened. If anything, more people are now more confused. They introduced council members. That one lady, she's kind of. I think she like has some kind of disability. I don't know how to describe it. She's like the short woman. I've seen her in, like,
I know who you're talking about.
She's got like some kind of like syndrome or something.
Yes.
This actress, but I've seen her in like so much shit lately. Like she was in like Good Omens.
Oh, okay, yeah.
She was in, I think, Dungeons and Dragons movie. Like she's
that was great.
Like, popping up in like so many genre movies, and she pretty much just plays the same fucking role. Just someone on a council. She literally played the same role in like Good Omens on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Give me that. Give me some of that Amazon bucks. Come on, give me it. Give me some credits.
Amazon. Yeah, I could go some Amazon.
Give me some of them credits, Bezos. You got them. Give me some of them points.
Yeah. Yeah. I said a lot of nice things about their Lord of the Rings show too. So
Yeah, you did. You were like the only one. No one else. You were like the people who, that one person that thought Jar Jar Binks was cool.
I really liked the Lord of the Rings show. I thought
It
it was
had
real solid.
2 good episodes.
Yeah, I mean, look, I see the flaws in it, but I just this is like a weird one problem to have. My real one problem is like I don't know why it existed.
Big money.
To
get attention to Prime.
I always just hate.
Sign up.
I think I'm burned out on prequels. Like,
I don't know. I'm fine with a prequel if like it makes sense. The problem with Lord of the Rings is that like the whole universe relies on just this trilogy of books, and I feel like and then you have the Hobbit, right? But like it,
a lot of those were based off that Silmarillion or whatever.
Yeah, but what was that, like 20 pages that he never finished?
No, it was a bunch. It was a real long one, but it was just a bunch of like short stories and fragments of planned novels. There's like a collection of unpublished writings.
The problem with the show was that they feel like they had to tie it back so much to the original trilogy books and movies so that the audience could be like, and it's like, you don't need to do that. You don't have to have a Gollum. You don't have to it's kind of cool to see what's his face as like a human, but like, do we need to see Sauron? Should Sauron even exist at this point? Like, the problem is, it's like the Lord of the Rings. Like, that's why the whatchamacallit is great. The dragon, right? What's it called? The Game of Thrones.
House of Dragons.
Oh, sorry. How to Train Your Dragon. This Game of Thrones. I want to see How to Train Your Dragon, but I want more incest and booze.
Right. Yeah.
There wasn't enough. How to Train Your Dragons. I had to do my own fan fiction.
Very little, yeah.
Now, finally, HBO answered that question.
Mm.
You wanted to see How to Train Your Dragon with a bit more dreams.
I didn't like House of Dragon at first, but I came around to like it a whole bunch.
It got better. I remember even the first episode, like a little bit. It was like a good show, but that was a good example of like they didn't have to constantly hit you over the fucking head with like White Walkers or like it was this universe. There's dragons in it, but like they were able to kind of create a story. And I never read the book, so I know people could be like, "Oh, well, they're pulling from this source material." I don't give a shit. I don't care.
Yeah, if it did, I don't remember them.
They made a show that was compelling with characters that were compelling, just like we talked about with Daredevil. Yep. You need to do that. You have to have a show that is compelling.
Yeah,
that makes people want to tune in. If you don't want to, then make a Daredevil movie. If you don't want to do a show, like make a movie.
I guess that was my thing with the Loki. I mean, I was glad it was back. It's good to see these characters again, but I was like, what is happening?
It felt like a little bit of a reset.
Yeah, hopefully they'll pick it up again in the next episode.
Well, next episode, spoilers. What's her name? The girl Loki,
Sylvie.
She's gonna work at McDonald's in the 80s, so that should be a good
episode.
I was like, I saw the preview for that. I'm like, is it only 6 episodes?
Also? Oh, that's a good question. I don't know that. Loki season 2. Geez, I hope it's a little more than. I hope it's more than 6 episodes. 6 episodes. You're right. Gonna run through November 9th. It'll be over before we know it.
I mean, again, it's a great episode. It's just not. I agree. It's like we got the band back a little bit, and but like I don't know. They didn't really mention Kang. They didn't mention
not really.
Well, you heard his voice and he saw his face, and I'm wondering, does the TVA even know who Kang is?
That's the thing. Is that all these things are a little ambiguous, and I think that was kind of lending to the ambiguousness of the ambiguity. The ambiguity, but like the kind of listlessness of the plot. Like it wasn't like maybe it wasn't moving along because no one knew what was going on. I don't know. But it was good. I mean,
I watched it again. I watched it the first time and I felt like I didn't pay attention. I watched it again. And like I said, it's good. And it was fun to see him get kind of pulled in. And Obi was he's just there's like a presence to him. He's just
fun.
funny.
He
Like,
just makes you happy.
that's why, yeah, like he's such like this harmless, nice person. That's why it sucks that he wasn't in Indiana Jones. Like it was cool. We got Sala to show up for a couple of scenes, but like I think that if they must, I'm telling you, after everything Everywhere Almost at Once came out, they must have been, they were like, oh, fuck. Yep. Oh, we got the girl from Fleabag.
Right.
But you couldn't get someone from what was that show that's like took place in like the early century? It was about like the rich and the servants.
Oh,
it was like such a huge show. It was on like PBS, and it went to
talking about like Downton Abbey, right?
Yeah. Oh my god, that got so big. But it might be like taking like, oh, we got the person from Downton Abbey. Oh, cool. You know?
Yeah.
That's just my that was always my little like. I mean, I enjoyed the movie, but I could see why it didn't do as well.
Yeah. It makes sense. It makes sense to me. I think a lot of that is like, we've talked about this with a bunch of different things. Like Indiana Jones to me is such a cultural icon. It is so big. Like I can't imagine.
But I think it is only to people our age.
You're right. That's what I was going to say. Is that like I can't imagine like movies without Indiana Jones. But like my kid has no idea what Indiana Jones is. I'm certain that she would not have any interest in watching Indiana Jones. I don't think that character is culturally in the pop culture now. You know what I mean?
I feel like it's the problem is that like when the last one came out in 2008, that was like the perfect year where just had the prequels come out and that ended. And when that went to go see it was like, who grew up with it was in their like mid to late 20s at that point. And now you have this movie come out and it was fucking like 15 years ago already. Which is insane that you realize 2008, like 15 years ago. And you realize that like it's one, streaming has changed everything.
Yep.
Where people are like, nah, you know what, I'll just wait till it comes home. And it's like the only people that care about it still, maybe they didn't like the last one. A lot of people didn't like the last one. So that could have been enough of a reason why people didn't go see it. They're like, the last one sucked ass. Crystal Skull was like, it was like dumb, you know?
Yeah.
Or I don't know, there were some parts of it.
I liked it just fine, but yeah, it was like
the thing with the aliens, people didn't like it. But I'm just saying that it's all about like who's your audience, and it's like are like 18-year-olds gonna go see this in the theater? No, they're not. It is Barbie because it was like, who cares if it's based on a doll or not? It looked like fun.
It's bright, it's colorful. I mean, it's kind of like culturally relevant today. Indiana Jones is just like, I don't know. It was kind of weird that it's totally
It's boomer shit. It is. It's like it's the obsession of a specific period of the past, and it's like, oh well, this time Indiana Jones takes place after the moon landing happens, and it's like, okay, that's not only relevant to people who are like in their 60s.
Even the original Indiana Jones back when it first came out was like Greatest Generation shit. I mean, it was like calling back
to also came out perfect time. It's like from the producer of Star Wars, and
right, and
that's why I'm seeing that. That's a
Han
really
Solo was in it. Yeah, I remember going to see Indiana Jones and the what was it? Indiana Jones? Oh, Raiders of the Lost Ark. And I saw it at the Colonial 3 in Fort Myers. I had no idea what it was about. It didn't look good. It didn't look interesting, but Han Solo was in it, you know, and it's like,
that's why I was interested as a kid. Han Solo's in a fucking movie. He looks a little different. I always thought, this is really dumb. We'll move on. I always thought it was weird how Harrison Ford's head looked so different as Han Solo. And I think it's just how hairstyle can totally change things. His head looks rounder in the Star Wars movies, but not the newest one. The newest one, he looks more like Indiana Jones in the But then, like in Indiana Jones, he has like a shorter hair, and his head is all of a sudden skinnier and more narrow.
That's funny. Yeah.
So like that is two totally different characters.
Yeah. Right.
Maybe, you know what I heard is that before Harrison Ford would go make Star Wars, he would stick his thumb in his mouth and blow
That
and his head would get a little
plausible.
poofier. That totally makes sense. Or maybe I'm just thinking of the Star Wars figure that came out. The first one had like a roundish head.
Yeah, that is. Yeah,
and that's probably it.
Well, could be.
So yeah, Loki's good. I mean, it's not. I'm not like I didn't hate it, but I wasn't like blown away by it. But
Right.
again, just it was good to see something that looked amazing. Like this is what we should expect from a Marvel show.
Yeah.
Or at least on that caliber. Like I get it, the street level stuff's gonna be different, but man, and again, it's like this. The scrolls. You could say, oh, it was supposed to be more like what do you call it? Like Winter Soldier. So it's not going to be all this insane. Yeah, but you're dealing with fucking scrolls.
Yeah.
There should have been like a scene on their planet or on a ship or something, a little more off-world looking stuff. Like you're dealing with like an alien race here. This isn't.
You got a lot to work with.
Yeah. I don't know. They're, like I said, they're probably like this is where I've worked for companies and stuff like that where it's like we didn't have a line that did well, and then everybody like second guesses everything afterwards. Like that could be when you don't have something that doesn't do well, it could be it could be just a simple reason why it didn't do well. It could be timing. It could be like it just didn't, people didn't like this property or whatever. But then they end up being like, we have to change everything. Everything we do has to be changed. And it's like, no, we don't.
Yeah.
This was just this one specific thing that didn't do well. And that's my fear, is that they like freak the fuck out and they end up like it ends up ruining everything.
Yeah, they learned the wrong lesson. Yeah.
Yeah. Because then they don't want to take chances on anything. But speaking of
yeah.
All right. Well, this is where we shift over to things that are just remember that judge, that fun judge who he looked at the camera and he mugged at it, and then I did that.
Yes,
and it got like all these people saw it, and it was like the world just things were great, and I didn't.
Yes,
it was like
a different time.
It was like it feels like that was like 5 years ago now.
It does, yeah.
So over this is I don't like talking about this stuff because
it's hard.
I don't know. I have a hard time talking to people about it because I don't know where they're coming from. So there's some Jewish people I know growing up, the older generation and stuff, where they'll just be flat out like Israel does nothing wrong. Israel does nothing wrong. And Israel are the good guys. I've heard this come out. And, listen, I get it, especially, World War II and all that, from that perspective and, propaganda and all that shit. Yeah. But, okay, so I guess, Israel was attacked by Hamas on like Friday night or something. I don't even know when it was.
I think you're right. It was over the weekend.
And but then they retaliated and just fucking flattened Gaza. Isn't the Gaza Strip considered Palestine or something?
Yeah, I think that general area was Palestine up until post World War II when they made Israel, and then the Gaza Strip, I guess, is modern day Palestine.
Which is
more or less.
Most people don't know this. It gets out that these people live like shit. They have like a really low mortality rate. They said it's like mostly young people that live there because there's like hardly any old people.
They said it's kind of like an apartheid.
Electricity's turned off all the time.
Yeah.
It's basically like an open air prison, is what they said.
I've heard that. It is hard. I talked about it with some people the other day, and I found it hard because I didn't know where they were coming from at first, and then pretty quickly I kind of intuited that they were of the Israel can do no wrong variety. And
that is the narrative that the United States government pushes and everything like that. And it gets really weird. Like you would see people like Donald Trump, who has no problem having dinner with actual outright Nazis like Nick Fuentes, say like, oh, he's a smart young man, and then like come out and say he claims he supports Israel, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
And a lot of these like so-called like right-wing GOP Republicans like that, like they're like undying support of Israel is always bizarre because I'm like, dude, you guys like push like anti-Semitic tropes, like all the
Some of
fucking
that
time.
though is rooted in like a weird evangelical like death
Oh, their
cult.
support for Israel. Yeah,
Yeah, it's like it really doesn't have anything to do with like Judaism or even Israel per se. It more has to do with like, well, that's the Holy Land, and we, what I don't know. The closest I could come to like articulating how I'm feeling about it is that like clearly what Hamas did was abominable and inexcusable, and you can't tolerate that shit. I
no,
mean, even regardless of whether or not people are kind of exaggerating or using hyperbole, you can't wander into another country and start killing people in their homes. That's terrorism.
they like attacked a concert or something.
Yeah, they attacked a concert. They attacked these farms, the kibbutzes, these kind of communal farms. They attacked people in their homes. It's just ghoulish, and
But
so
we've been, Israel, whatever, backed by the United States, was bombing the
yeah,
shit out of like every couple of years. They do these like
yeah.
literal
Separate
raids to constantly set these people back, and you're like,
separate from that, and
yeah,
not excusing that, Israel's been like bullshit for years because these people, the Palestinians or the people living in Gaza, they have no home. They're kind of living under an apartheid
they have people
system.
who literally come in and steal their homes and
Yeah, they
their
literally have.
settlers.
Yeah.
They
So
just come in. I've seen video of it.
yeah,
It's
me too.
insane. And the police or the Israeli military like totally backs these people. I've seen like
Yes.
this guy just take like someone home that was there
Yeah.
for decades. And just be like, it's
Literally.
mine now. I'm
Yeah.
entitled to this.
And a lot of times it's people that came from like Europe. They'll come from Europe and move to Israel and they need a home and they're like, oh well, we got a few in the Gaza Strip you can have. So but it's okay. I think for me at least, it's okay to see these as two separate issues. Hamas, you can't tolerate that shit. I mean, I understand that. Like, because the military or the government of Israel doing horrible shit to the Gaza Strip does not mean that you can like randomly kill teenagers at a concert. You know what I mean?
Not everybody in Israel,
Yeah,
like people, like they
right.
voted. A lot of the people came out and voted against Netanyahu. Like the
Yeah,
fact that he's still in charge is pretty nuts. I thought he was voted out. But whatever their parliamentary system or however it's worked,
yeah.
he's
It's
able to like fucking still be in power, and he shouldn't be. Like it doesn't make any sense. I heard like he's not even from there. He's from like Philly.
I don't know.
I don't know. That guy's he's been to me. That guy
he's
sucks.
garbage.
He's like he's literally like to me he's just an extension of the Republican Party. Like I
But
mean, I remember he came and did like a speech, and this was during the Obama years, and he spoken like he was invited by like the GOP to speak, and it was like really weird because
yeah,
it was kind of rude, like, dude, the president of
yeah.
the United States, you're just kind of like
It was
stepping him.
yeah. It was bullshit. I I even if you could say, and I'm like, here's where I get less clear about my feelings. Let's say Israel eliminates Hamas or the people responsible for doing this, like to a point where I'm like, okay, this I see where you do that, but then you're still left with the problem of these people in the Gaza Strip are being brutalized. I mean,
And
you're
all
gonna
that
have the
will do
same.
is create more tension and
Yes.
create another type of terrorist group, another type. There'll always be like this is what I said this about like I remember talking to my dad about this when the Iraq war started or was about to start.
Yeah.
And I said that this is not going to help. But one, we shouldn't be there. Doesn't make any sense. Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11. This
Right.
is like bullshit. This is complete bullshit. We knew that they always want to go back to Iraq. Even there was like on the campaign trail, like Bush saying like, "Oh, he tried to kill my daddy," like
Yeah.
any excuse they can get. And I said, all this is going to do is create more terrorists or
Well,
whatever you
there's a
consider terrorists. This is going to someone 20-year-old whose like family was completely killed and there's no jobs, there's nothing because everything has been destroyed.
yeah.
Like because we knew what happened after the invasion with Rumsfeld letting the whole country just like completely fall apart. and allowing like ISIS to come about. And I don't know if it was ISIS yet or whatever, but what are you gonna do? You're gonna pick up a gun and you're gonna join like whatever group that will take you under,
Well,
like one of their soldiers. I mean,
yeah.
like,
That's the other thing that kind of like I mean, this is more in my category of I think this is true. A lot of people are framing this as like a religious war, and that like these people hate.
I hate when they do that. It's not religion at
It
all.
doesn't seem religious to me. I mean, like, look, you can't discount that, but like, this is more about economic disparity, or
it's like we just don't like this group. We want them gone.
Yeah. I don't. I mean, I don't think that. I don't know. I mean, I don't think that like when Israel bashes the Gaza Strip on a regular day, I don't think that's rooted in religious hatred or anything. I think it's rooted in we want that land. You know, I mean, I think it's more economic than
it's yeah. I mean,
it just
obviously there's some religion in it, but you can
sure.
use that as an excuse to be like, we just don't like this group of people and they have to do this religion. I mean, fuck, even like Christianity, there's like people who despise different sects of Christianity.
Yeah, it seems like I don't know. I mean, I guess that's
I feel like when they use the religious stuff as an excuse in the media, something like that, it makes everything sound fantastical, and it also covers up for the fact that like, we fund this country to be a like satellite for us in the Middle East, basically.
Yeah,
I mean,
oh yeah, we need a foothold
and dress it up with some. And I think let me tell you, it's incredibly anti-Semitic to assume that like I have to support Israel.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because my last name's Israel.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Which is odd. That's why I don't like talking about this. Because again, I always like what I don't want to know. Because there's even like people who like support Palestine, and that's fine, and I'm for that. But then they like will say something incredibly anti-Semitic, and I'm like, okay, fuck you, fuck you, dude. Like, fuck you, lady, or whatever. Like, you're no different than like these other people. Like, why do you have to like? I don't know. I always have like an issue. Like, I don't like talking about it. I went to the post office guy I talked to sometimes. It's kind of funny. He said something like, because I guess he knows my last name from the packages. He's like, hey, aren't you supposed to be there? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, it was just, it wasn't like weird. It was kind of funny. And I said, I have my last name's Israel. Like, it's funny. People will see me and I'm like white as hell. And they're like, wait, you're
right.
Like, I don't look Middle Eastern at all. And they're like, I have no connection, as far as I know, to that area whatsoever. I think like family came, my great grandfather or whatever great grandmother came here, and they had some probably super ethnic sounding name that was Polish or Russian, and they're like what's your name? Kaska Plaska Polatsky. Preplock matzo ball soup.
Smith it is.
What?
Smith it is.
Yeah. They're like Israel or Israel.
Yeah.
Like, that's your new name now. I don't know what I think there's a way to find out my original name, but
well, ours was like Kashotsky. It was not K. They gave us that.
Well, you told me your original last name was K. Hitler.
Hitler.
Your original last name was Hitler, and they're like, that's weird. Let's change to K.
No, it was like Kashotsky, and then but there was like some variations on it. I don't know if that's even like the original, but then they took Danny Kaye's last name.
Your last name was Cock. Tacky.
Penis
like, let's get rid of the CK bar, the K.
Well, I think people do bring their worst. This whole Israel-Palestine thing, it is a magnet for people's worst takes. And what I mean? Like,
I feel like I'm starting to see a lot of like post 9/11 shit where people just start getting super racist against like Islamic people, or at least even more outright racist. Yeah, they think they could get away with it now.
The thing that
there's so much misinformation out there about this because like Elon Musk destroyed Twitter.
Yeah,
and he said there's so much fucking misinformation out there. It's like hard to like find out what's true. So first of all, like let's just I wouldn't mind instead of So there was a good statement put out by somebody. I don't know what it was. It's like a generic statement. I don't know. If you fuck with people too much, there's gonna be some kind of retaliation.
Yeah.
That's just a fact. You
Yeah.
know? Like, I remember like I got into an argument with my friend years ago. This was again during the Iraq War, and he said something about like, oh, when this person like picked on you or whatever, you fought back. And I said, like as a comparison to like United States and like the Middle East or whatever, or Iraq. And I was like, dude, it's the other way around.
Yeah.
Like, we're not getting picked on by Iraq and fighting back.
Yeah.
We dismantled the shit out of that country for like a decade, from the first Gulf War to the second one. Like, what the I was like, what are you talking about? This is like propaganda, like in your brain.
Yeah.
Like,
I was thinking about that today, and like, look, I'm not saying that the U.S. was a good guy or a knight in shining armor, but like after the U.S. tore apart Iraq and like Afghanistan and stuff, they did pump a lot of money in and try to rebuild it. You know, they failed miserably because of a lot of different reasons.
If you saw what it looked like before what they did, I saw pictures of like cities in Baghdad and what it looked like any other big city in the United States. And then you saw an after, they fucking destroyed that country. Never recovered.
But you did see, you saw an effort for like the US to like turn back governing over to,
but it was all puppet leaders. It was half-assed.
Yeah, but like that's why I prefaced it by saying I'm not saying that the US did a good job with this or anything, but there was like this kind of like effort.
Because like the Arab Spring thing was a big deal, especially with like that was early on Twitter, and like honestly, that's what would have happened probably in Iraq if we just let them alone and didn't go in there and didn't do shit. Eventually, there would have been some kind of Arab Spring in Iraq, because they said Saddam was barely holding on to the country to begin with, and then we went in and like fucked it all up, and it was like, oh wait, there's like these huge factions. Shiite and what was the other one?
Sunni.
It was like Sunni, and it was like no one knew what the fuck that was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Saddam was the one keeping everybody kind of like a little bit in line.
Yeah, well, it was weird. He was like the only Sunni leader. I mean, it was a very weird thing.
It was like Breaking Bad when he kills Gustav, and then Mike's like, dude, you just like, there's all this well-oiled machine that was created by him, and you have to talk to all these people, and he was like, fuck that, I'm gonna hire some Nazis.
Well, right.
We kind of did the same thing.
The thing was, Iraq before colonialism took it apart, Iraq really should have been three separate countries. It should have been a Sunni country, it should have been a Shiite country, and then like maybe a Kurdistan country. And that's why
out Texas is supposed to be like four states.
Yeah,
one of them is all inbreds, the other one's all like cultists, the other one.
Yeah, well, honestly,
people who like Dr. Pepper.
But the Middle East too was also kind of like tore apart by colonialism prior to Israel being formed. So like a lot of these things have just been like really, I mean, like even creating Israel like, wasn't.
Oh, did we do that?
Did I?
Every time there's some kind of disorder in the Middle East, it's like, oh. Did we do that a century or two ago?
Get British Urkel.
It's tea time, cheerio.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's hard to tear apart, but I do know though that it just seems like it's not going to get any better. I don't know how it's going to get better. I think the government of Israel, it seems like it's going further right wing and further hard line, even as the people of Israel seem more open to
millions of people that were protesting. Like, I don't know if it was like a year ago in the streets in Jerusalem or something. Yeah. And because this is a problem I have. It's like everyone assumes that like, oh, if you live in Israel, you're going to be this hard right Likud and, fuck all the Palestinians. I want to see them all incinerated. And that's not the case at all.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like the case.
The majority of Jewish people in the United States are progressive. That's a fact. You have these fucking trolls like Ben Shapiro that try to trick people into thinking that Jewish people are like conservative or something. And that's far from the case. Like, I'm not going to lie. There's a decent amount of conservative Jews out there. But the majority of the Jewish population
Oh yeah.
is progressive. Now, even ones who vote Democrats like that, they still fall for the whole like Israel can't do anything wrong, or
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Well,
again, I think it's like an older generation thing. But like, okay, so again, I don't really know what to say about this. I think the government in Israel, like you said, is just going further to the right. It's becoming more like police state like, and what they're doing.
yeah.
I don't know what the solution is. I mean, I don't think it'll ever be an actual real solution that works out well for the Palestinians. I just don't
Doesn't
think.
yeah, it doesn't seem like it.
Well, I know there's like always that argument. I'm wondering if it's a bad faith argument. We say like, well, why doesn't like other Middle Eastern countries like take these people in or do something? And it's like, I don't know, like that I think is a bad faith argument, but
I think so too, because that Gaza Strip is right on the Mediterranean. It's a it's a valuable piece of land. You know, why would you walk away from your land? I mean,
no, I
like,
know that. I'm saying that like that's why I said it's a bad faith argument. I've
yeah,
heard that.
no, I agree. I agree.
But I don't know. It's like, okay, so Israel was attacked, but then it's like, Israel retaliate. Yeah, I can't even say words. And like, they're just killing people left and right. And then like, and one of the fucked up things was, you see that Justin Bieber like tweeted like pray for Gaza or whatever, and it was like literally like, no, that's not what happened.
Yeah,
That's that's the retaliation from Israel in the Gaza. Like that's you're
yeah.
that was all the wreckage that was
No,
on Palestinians afterwards.
in all fairness, it is a really confusing it's a very confusing
No one
sequence of
fucking knows.
events.
Most
Yeah,
people don't fucking have a clue what's going on. Like I said, I barely do, and I know a little bit more than
right.
most people do, and that's how
Yeah,
pathetic that is.
that's
It
how I feel. I mean, like,
there's so much fucking propaganda out there. Like I remember after like Israel, like it happened, they got attacked, and I remember seeing like every congressman, even on the Democratic side, putting out a statement like is an unprovoked attack against Israel. And I'm just kind of going like,
yeah.
I mean, like, was it unprovoked?
It's yeah. I mean, it's like, yeah. I
It's
don't
like
know.
9/11. I remember like when I was young, especially when it happened, like, oh my God, you even said it was like provoked. And
Right.
you'd be like cast aside and like, get out, like this country and
It's
get
weird.
out, brother.
Yeah. I
Because
think.
we're gonna be, like, no, it was totally fucking provoked. What are you
Yeah.
talking about? We've been fucking with these people for decades, for like a century now. Of course it was provoked. What the like people are like, again, Hollywood propaganda in the 80s has rotted the brains of like
Yeah.
everybody, like people our age, people in their 50s, Red Dawn, all that shit was highly effective. The United States is always the hero in these movies. We never do anything wrong. And the myth of like, oh, well, we destroy things, we fix it up. No, we give government funded no bid
Contracts. Yeah.
contracts to fucking corporations who built taxpayers and do a shit job rebuilding these countries
Yeah.
while we install a puppet government. I mean, like, I don't know what to say, but like, I guess I want to talk about like the misinformation, maybe focus on that. Because they
Yeah.
said this could not have happened at a worse time with what has happened to Twitter.
Oh yeah. That is. It's. Yeah. You almost wonder if like this is why it happened around this time.
Well, it's pretty crazy that it's almost like some weird October surprise. And like the Republicans are trying, it's like, what happened last week? Well, they voted out Kevin McCarthy, and now we don't have a Speaker of the House. And
Right.
this is kind of an integral part. They're trying to, I saw like guys like, what's his face? The Senator Hawley.
Okay. Yep.
All like posting like, oh, we should take funds away from the Ukraine and give it towards Israel. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds like something Putin would want. Okay, do you want to hear some fun conspiracies about this whole thing?
Yeah. Yes.
I think
Yeah.
we talked about it, but okay, so I saw a bunch of like, again, I don't know how true this is, but it sounds true because it probably
Yeah.
is true. So Trump had all these documents like in Mar-a-Lago and everything, and one of the reasons why he's in trouble. And I guess there was footage of him where he had Netanyahu over, This was like from like 5 years ago. And I guess he had a private meeting with Putin in the White House that no one was allowed to hear.
Yep.
And supposedly he gave all the secrets to Putin because there's this iron, I guess Israel has this,
the Iron Dome.
I don't know exactly what that means. It's not like there's an actual iron dome.
No, it is,
but it
like
is some kind of security thing.
It is a series of surface-to-air missiles and radar, and it's incredibly effective at intercepting missiles. So if a missile's coming at the country,
it makes no sense that this happened, basically.
Yeah, it's very...
It makes no sense that any of this happened. And they're saying that, like, so basically Russia was given this information by Trump. That would not shock me one bit whatsoever.
Right.
On how to basically go against the Iron Dome thing.
Yeah, how to beat the Iron Dome.
Yeah. And then Russia gave that information to Iran.
Yep.
Gave it to Hamas.
Right.
And that happens, and then Israel gets to retaliate. The right-wing government of Israel, the extreme fascist right-wing government, which is Netanyahu, Likud party, gets to retaliate, do whatever they want, get back all the support from Israel, and then people in the government of the United States start using, like, well, we need to help Israel out, get boots on the ground because we had soldiers there. We got to get boots on the ground. We're going to have to take away some resources away from Ukraine.
Right.
Then Russia's like, oh, really? You have to take away resources from Ukraine? Oh, that's cool. You guys can go. We'll handle it from here.
Yeah. That's honestly, that all that seems real plausible.
There were so many tweets coming from Republicans. Lauren Boebert was saying that shit. All these like Republicans were repeating that, like, we need to take funds away from the Ukraine and give it to Israel. And I'm like, on the surface, to a person who's not paying attention, on the surface, it'd be like, oh yeah, that's true. We need to really help out Israel here. You know, we've helped Ukraine out enough as it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's complete horse shit.
Yeah. It doesn't... They're all bad faith arguments from these Republicans saying we should withhold funds from Ukraine. And
then one of the other bullshit arguments was the attack. Of course, they want to make Biden out to be weak, saying this is Biden's fault. Oh, Biden gave those $6 billion to Iran. That's why this happened. Biden didn't give anything to Iran, and Iran doesn't have access to this money. This money has never been given to Iran.
Yeah, it's monitored by Qatar.
What?
It's monitored by Qatar, I think.
And it's like from South Korea or something, this money? Like it's sitting in
and it's for humanitarian aid. It's really like
I'm sure they'll find a way to use the money for things that are not supposed to be. But they don't have access the money, they don't have access to it now. So they want to spread this bullshit and say that Biden's weak. They're gonna push that lie. They're gonna say that lie. They're gonna say it until the election in 2024. They're going to say it every day that Biden gave Iran $6 billion. They're going to constantly push that fucking line, and it's not true.
I don't think anybody cares about that, and I do think that...
But it doesn't matter. It works. If you keep repeating it over and over and over, it will work.
But Biden came out pretty strong in favor of, in support of Israel. I think he can, like, he can get support out of Israel saying, like, no, Biden did us a solid.
Yeah, of course. You can say that to Netanyahu, like, hey, asshole, like, I know you're really like just a satellite Republican, but
but I need you to show up at my next press conference and thank me.
If you don't, I'm going to have you pet Commander.
Yeah, right.
Commander's going to pet you.
Yeah.
Commander's the dog. Oh my God, I was watching the new season of Chucky. Show on Peacock. And the new season takes place with the president of the United States, and he has a German Shepherd, and it bites the Secret Service. And I'm like, oh, that's totally that's awesome. Commander. Yeah, there's like they're in a dark elevator, and the guy's like, and the dog's like, and he bit the he went the Secret Service's hand. Yeah, I don't. There's so much bad faith actors out there, and like I said, I have a hard time believing people who support say they claim they support the Jewish people when they dine with outright disgusting Nazis like Nick Fuentes.
To me it seems real clear that I've personally met way back in the day even so many evangelical Christians that are unequivocally in support of Israel, and also believe that anyone practicing Judaism will go straight to hell. They simultaneously believe that, but they support Israel because they need Israel in friendly hands, because that's
and Jesus will come back.
Yeah, right. Honestly,
That's so weird. Like he's sitting there, he's like, I don't know, these hands don't look that friendly.
Yeah, right.
These hands look friendly. All right, time to come back.
Well, if you asked any of these
brain dead morons,
if you ask any of them saying we need to support Israel, blah blah blah, ask them how many people currently living in Israel will go to heaven when they die, and they'll like hem and haw before they eventually say like, well,
none.
None.
Say
they're all going
Jesus
to hell.
Christ as their Lord and Savior. If they say that, then they can go to heaven. That's not totally true.
That's the answer.
I have a very hard time with people who talk about like cults and attack people who are in cults and stuff like that, and then we'll say bullshit like this, and I'm supposed to sit there and go, "You're not in a cult."
Yeah, I mean
that sounds like some culty ass shit. Oh, Tom, wait, Xenu.
Right.
The Scientology thing, Xenu being this alien, and that's I don't know, and like we're our Thetans, whatever, 10,000-year-old, the dirt or whatever. Okay, I mean, yeah, it sounds like bullshit. Oh, this ghost is gonna, if a specific group of people go back to the specific land in the specific spot, a ghost will come back and bring upon the I don't know, the apocalypse or the new day age. That sounds pretty fucking insane. Yeah. Also,
it is true though. I mean, like that's just their mindset. So
I'm sick of like whole like no. To me, they're all fucking cults. They're all cults in some way or some form. It's like some are just more extreme. But when you start, if you adamantly believe in that crap, you're in a cult.
Yeah, I think so much. Yeah, so much of the world is just
you might as well believe Darth Vader is going to show up in his Starfighter. Oh my God, he's here! Death Star is parked outside the Earth. We're saved.
Yeah, I know. I said that I don't think this fight in the Middle East is necessarily religious in nature, but like religious extremism really does fuel a lot of this stuff.
Of course,
that's how they achieve it.
But like you also got to look at like the con, and it's like guys like Jerry Falwell or Pat Robertson died recently, right? He's dead, right?
Did he? I think so.
Yeah, he died he did die. Yeah.
Yeah.
They would of course support Israel, but then you'd find out they have like huge investments in Israel.
Right.
Like they're making millions and millions of dollars. They have
a lot of them too, like have little tourism empires. They take tours to the Middle East all the time, and I mean it's a big
fucking racket.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Anyway, but
the reality is people are getting killed, and yes, there's innocent people. I'm going to say this, and I don't care if I get canceled for this. There are innocent people on both sides getting killed. That's a fact.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, you see it on TV every day.
If you're telling me there's no innocent Israelis, then you're an anti-Semitic piece of shit. Just like that's like saying there's no innocent Americans, there's no innocent Russians, there's no innocent there were no innocent Germans. There were some innocent Germans during.
All Nazis. No,
there were a lot of Germans that protected Jewish people, that hid them and got them to safety. They weren't all. That's like saying that like during the Iraq War that everybody in USA were invaders and went to go kill Iraqis. No, we were not. There was an extreme party that was able to take over using the courts, just like Nazis were able to use the courts to take over.
Yeah.
And it's bullshit. Same thing with Trump. He wasn't the popular candidate. The majority of the people didn't vote for him. That does not represent the majority of people in the United States are not all bloodthirsty ghouls.
Yeah. There's a theory that Hamas intentionally was so ghoulish and intentionally targeted innocent civilians, hoping that Israel, trying to provoke an Israeli overreaction, which would drive Arabic support towards Hamas. And I don't know if that's true or not. I mean,
it sounds like a strategy that I could see people trying to pull.
It does, especially because, like, and again, I'm not excusing what they did, which was ghoulish and you can't tolerate. But like, you don't know how the Palestinians are supposed to fight back, or how they're supposed to assert their autonomy. You know, I mean, like they'll never beat Israel militarily. The strikes and protests haven't worked. Nothing has really worked. I mean, they don't really have anything left, you know. So
I saw a story too that, like, I don't know if it was like Egypt warned Israel, or at least the government of Israel, that there was an attack coming. And
yeah,
like
I heard that.
there's a lot of like 9/11-ish to this whole thing, where it's like, because it doesn't make any sense how this could happen if they have this so-called Iron Dome that's supposed to, like.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't
Let me
know
tell
all the
you, like, it
specifics
wouldn't
of
shock me one bit if this is all connected to Trump in any way. It wouldn't shock
that.
me.
Yeah.
Like, why would you not think it would not be connected? First of all, what happened during the Trump administration? There was a thing they did that was very controversial, where they put a U.S. embassy in Jerusalem.
Yeah.
That was always a thing that was like, no, don't fucking do
Right.
that, because you're basically sending a signal. And I remember watching the thing and seeing, like, when they announced it and all the people that were there, and who was there. It was two evangelical preachers.
Yeah. It's some.
One of them was an outright anti-Semite, said outright anti-Semite shit. I'm like, this doesn't seem like this is good for Jewish people, man.
Yeah.
This doesn't seem like, I mean, it seems great for like extreme right-wing Christo-fascists. They seem to
Right.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't feel comfortable talking about it half the time, even though we've been talking about it. Just because, like, I know you're in good faith, but like, I don't know, man. There's so many fucking anti-Semites out there, and like, it adds fuel. They're like, it just adds fuel. Like, they don't give a fuck about the Palestinians. Some of these people, it's like any excuse.
It's an excuse. That's kind of what I was saying before, is that this conflict seems to be a magnet for everyone's worst take. You know, like, if you have a shitty point of view, this is a great chance for you to express it. You know, like you can use it to bash Arabs. You can use it to excuse Hamas's terrorism. You could use it to, I mean, it's just like, man, there's a lot of shitty takes involved in this. And a lot of people jumping in. I don't know. I mean, in my head, the best I can reconcile it is two horrible things. The Hamas thing, horrible, inexcusable. I don't, ghoulish, you know. But I also see like what Israel had done prior to that.
And post.
And post. Yeah, and post.
There's more deaths. There's more deaths on the Gaza side.
You see people cradling their dead children. You see there's like fishing boats in a harbor just getting bombed. I mean, like, clearly they're just fishing boats, you know. I mean,
just completely dismantling these people's ability to live.
Yeah, they turned off the water, they turned off the power. So like,
the fact that they can do that,
that's
this is not a fair state.
Right.
If one state can go in and literally remove your ability to have power, electricity of any kind, you know, to get information out, to refrigerate. Like, there's been like reporters that have been killed supposedly, and like, I don't know, but like I said, this could not have happened in the worst time, with especially with how Twitter is, and like the importance of spreading information. And
true.
I think there's too many lazy people. First of all, Justin Bieber thing is funny because I feel like that guy's kind of a chud. Actually,
he's out. He's out to lunch. He's a chud. I think in the same way the average person has that weird populism that can be toxic. You know.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, it also happened at a really bad time because we currently don't have a Speaker of the House, like a real Speaker of the House.
I mean, I know he said the whole Russia GOP angle thing is weird. Like, and this happened when there was no Speaker of the House.
Right.
But like, again, like, I don't understand how this is not question work when you have like so many people in a specific party constantly every day trying to get the United States to not support the Ukraine. It's weird.
Right.
Like, to me, that should be something that should be checked out.
Yeah, it is really baffling, especially because like for so many years, Republicans were absolutely for funneling money for stuff like this to
Stop the Russians.
to stop the Russians.
Well, like I said, there was that hack back in 2016, and ever since then. So clearly, they must know some real big shit about some of these dudes.
Well, it's just baffling that like they would abandon like a doctrine they held for 50, 60 years regarding containing communism. I mean, it's just I'm not saying like modern day Russia is a communist state in the classic sense, but nothing about this adds up. Like why so many Republicans would be anti Ukraine being free. It just there's no plausible explanation for it. It doesn't make sense given everything we know about what these people think and believe. This seems counter to that.
It's just strange, and like I said, it's highly it's suspect.
Yeah,
it is suspect. Like, why would you want to not help the Ukraine?
Yeah,
like, it's odd.
So,
do you remember Code Pink? What the fuck?
Yeah,
them? They're like a total bizarre. They claim to be anti-war, but they ended up just being like pro-Russia. It's bizarre.
That is weird. I wonder, like, because I kind of struggle with that a little bit because I'm generally like anti-war and everything, but I'm totally forgiving the Ukraine money and guns and stuff, and that is a little hard for me to reconcile in my head.
Russia
like,
is the
they're the aggressor. Yeah,
the aggressor. They're the imperialist here.
Right. And so like I guess I'm definitely against war, but I'm more so against people declaring war, not people having war waged upon them. I support people having.
Right. This isn't an even argument here.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's like saying that like, the Palestinians and Israel, they both are bad at some ways or others. How come they can't just get along? And it's like,
well, yeah.
Like, no, one is completely stripped with other group of its power completely.
Yeah.
Literally. And so, another country who has a bigger military is trying to invade and has killed tons of Ukrainians and has like, I mean, they're not even. This is not an even thing here.
I don't know much about Code Pink other than what I remember about them during the Gulf War, but I think it's possible that they're just like a bunch of old 60s hippies, in leadership.
I can't believe they're that stupid.
Well,
not to see the bigger picture, because the Iraq war makes sense. We were the aggressor during the Iraq
War. We
were
waging war against
or the Republican Party was the aggressor during the Iraq war with a good portion of Democrats. True. And
I don't know.
Military and the industrial complex and all that. And Iraq was just another victim in the mix of it. Makes sense. This is not the same thing.
Yeah,
it's complete bullshit. I don't know. There's something odd about. I really would love to talk to one of these people and be like, I want to know really what's going on here, because I just think it's odd. Like, I agree. I don't think war is good either, but I also think like shouldn't let despots just take over.
Right. Exactly. It's like I am generally I'm generally against guns, but like if someone broke into another person's home and was threatening them and the homeowner like popped that person, I'm still against guns, but I don't think that's the worst use of a gun. I mean, like,
we talked about this last week when you're in a mall and you just pull out a gun and
that's a little different.
That a little more.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I'm anti-war, but I'm also like, this is
pro liberty or
and
freedom.
Russia Putin has already stated it's not going to stop in Ukraine.
Right. Yeah.
He wants to take all the land back that was part of the Soviet Union.
Yep.
He's not bringing back communism or the Soviet Union. It's more just like control. And this is all about like oil routes and resources.
Yeah.
That's really what it's about. It's like the same thing with like Israel. Israel's a small country and they have this and they're like, we're just going to slowly squeeze you and push you off further and further into the Mediterranean. And then we're going to have that beachfront property in like 10 years. I mean, that's literally what's going on. I mean, and we'll, everyone throw religion or some bullshit and say like, oh, this happened on this day and this. I mean, there's symbolism and all that. But the reality is, we talked about this before in the podcast, wars are usually fought over resources.
Yeah, that's all. That's what drives
control of economic markets, and control of routes, shipping routes.
Yeah.
and trade.
Access to waterways and stuff like that. That's what drives it, and that's again why I think it's primarily an economic conflict rather than religion. I think people use religion to justify what they're doing, but
or to make it fantastical, cover up where it's really going on,
Yeah. Wow. Anyway,
did you
I
see
don't know.
before we move on, did you see there was I don't know if I showed it to you, there was like someone did a screenshot of some like former Ohio Republican delegate or whatever, and she posted on like her Facebook like yay, we're gonna go to heaven soon or something, like, thinking that like that everything that's going on in Israel right now
Is like
bring upon the rapture. And I was like, why don't you just go kill yourself, lady?
Yeah, you can.
Like, why would you? Yeah, go kill it. Like
crazy people. It's crazy. People think that way.
That's why it's scary when you find out. Like, we say like it's not about religion, but that's the problem is when you start letting it like more and more nutcases in Marjorie Taylor Greene, it does become more about the fantastical and the irrational.
Yeah.
The people usually in charge are like, they'll claim they're religious, but deep down it's really just like, we're gonna take these resources here, apply it here. We got some oil contracts that we gotta fulfill. Our guy over here is connected to this company. We're gonna outsource this to this.
Yeah, but if like your troops are persuadable or the people who are voting for you are persuadable, they'll draw the religion card for sure.
Yeah, of course. Okay. That's like it's the same thing with like abortion. That's how they get people to vote for the GOP. Speaking of that, so there's a new speaker, at least a nominee today.
Right, there's one
secretly, right? It was just the Republicans.
Yeah, they had when I say secret, I mean like people knew they were having the meeting. It was a closed meeting, I guess would be more accurate. And the reporters were kind of listening in, and they did hear
they didn't want to repeat the 16 times or 14 times in McCarthy.
So they thought they'd get together first and kind of settle on a nominee, and they settled on Steve Scalise, David Duke without the baggage. David Duke is like all baggage. I don't know what he looks
like. Dude, like the fact that you said that is weird. Okay, I'm like Hitler without all the baggage.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So he it was a narrow one. Steve Scalise beat Jim Jordan. But then they convened. They haven't set a time yet where they're going to vote for speaker. But it's going to be a close one. A lot of Republicans said they are not down right now for supporting Scalise.
Yeah. And there's more support for Hakeem Jeffries on the Democratic side.
Honestly, if they just put it up to a vote and there was a popular vote, Jeffries would win in a landslide. But the Republicans won't put it toward a vote until they know they have the votes. That is what I'm thinking.
They're just going to drag this out because, again, they don't give a fuck about a functioning government. So, the idea that Jim Jordan can run is insane. This guy, again, cannot stress this. This dude covered up one of the biggest like pedophilia scandals. I don't know if it's is it considered pedophilia at that point?
I don't know. I think it's more abuse.
Just outright sexual assault.
I think it's more that. I don't know.
It was college, right?
Yeah, my suspicion is that these weren't underage kids. They were just young men.
Regardless, it doesn't matter. Yeah. And again, just because when you say underage, like, they're 18, doesn't mean that like 50-year-old dudes or women, it's still unless you're Al Pacino,
right?
Robert De Niro, and the celebrities, and it's like, then it's like, oh, cool, good for you, buddy. Hoo-ha, indeed. Yabba dabba do.
Well, they nominated.
You talking to me?
They put forth Steve Scalise, and so at some point when they convened to have a vote,
that little guy.
Yeah, he does. He looks like
he's probably like 6'3" for all I know, but he looks.
He does. He looks like an anthropomorphized.
Jim Jordan looks like he's like a 4-foot troll. He looks like Hoggle from Labyrinth.
Yeah. I do.
That guy, like, put on a fucking suit already, you sweaty fuck.
Yeah, Jim Jordan. He's really terrible.
Everyone gives John, what's his name from Pennsylvania?
John Fetterman.
John Fetterman shit. It's like, dude, Jim Jordan looks like ass. Like, he's got like a sweaty button-down shirt. He never wears a fucking suit with it. Like everyone's giving John Fetterman shit. He's just being comfortable. Jim Jordan looks like I don't know. Like
He looks, yeah. Well,
that guy is disgusting. He's just a Trump troll.
he is. He's terrible. He knows his lane. I saw Nancy Mace on some talk show, and she was saying that she spoke to a lot of Democrats that would support Jim Jordan. And
shit.
Yeah, the interviewer was like, "Wait a minute, Jim Jordan from Ohio?" And she's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "And you spoke to Democrats?" And she's like, "A lot of them." And he's like, "Democrats currently in the Congress?" Like he's
like, "Wait a minute, what?" Okay, so this lady tries to play. She's like, she tries to play like, "Oh, I'm Marjorie Taylor Greene,
yeah,
baggage."
Right. Yeah, basically,
be like, "Oh no, I'm the sane Republican," even though she votes for all the crazy shit they vote for.
Yeah, she tried to sell herself as that.
She's like an attention getter. Like she just wants attention, and she tries to claim like she's for women's rights when she votes against them.
Yep.
Or votes for people that are adamantly against women's rights. And the fact she came out and said she supported Jim Jordan, and like, are you sure? Like,
yeah.
And then she did this stunt the other day where she wore this white shirt
yeah.
with like a giant red A on it.
Yeah.
And people, did you see the clip, like what she said or whatever? Like,
yeah, she said this is her scarlet letter because she voted to get rid of McCarthy.
She supports women or something. And I'm like, oh, no, you're supporting women and voting for Jim Jordan. It sounds like a weird contradiction. But like, it's super odd. And it was like, lady, do you know what that stands for? Are you admitting you're an adulterer or something?
Yeah, she clearly didn't know the specifics of it. I mean, I know people use the term scarlet letter now pretty loosely, but she wore a literal scarlet letter. Yeah.
Like, what did you say something like she clearly has nobody working for her that gives a fuck about her?
Yeah, I mean, like,
or they just don't know either. They're probably just as fucking clueless.
God, I can't imagine that a modern recent college graduate hasn't read Scarlet Letter recently.
Wouldn't just Wikipedia it real fast and be like, Miss Mace, I don't know if it's a good idea for you to wear a big giant red A on your shirt.
Right. Just Google that.
Like, they know how to Google shit easily. And I think like if she had a staff that actually gave a single shit about her, she wouldn't have done that. Or she's such a narcissist that she doesn't give a shit. They told her, she would have said, "No, I'm doing it anyway because I'm a fucking child."
Right.
Like what a joke. Like if AOC did that, I love that. It's like the comparison of everything. Like when the Boebert thing happened, and it was like if AOC did even 1/10 of that, AOC showed up with like a big A on her shirt, they'd be saying all kinds of fucked up shit about her.
For sure.
But then the A stood for anal.
My God.
I posted a picture of the what's her name? Jessie from Pokemon.
That's right. Yeah, I saw that.
And her, and it said same energy.
Yeah, when I first saw that, I tried to get. Remember that episode of Arrested Development where Lindsay wore a T-shirt that just said "slut"? Do you remember that?
I think I remember that. Yeah,
they were doing like some sort of trash cleanup for community service or whatever. I was going to try to like do some sort of comparison. I couldn't see it working, but
you just don't want to say slut and then
but it was like that same type of cluelessness, like not really appreciating the. I don't know. Anyway,
just a bubblehead. Like I love all the comments. Yeah, she's hot. It's like, yeah, she's pretty, but that doesn't matter. Pretty. She's a fucking dumbass. Like
the bar is so low for like considering. I mean, like when someone's comments on a politician's looks, you're in for some trouble. Like if that's where they're going.
That's first. What happened with Sarah Palin. Like people like, she's good looking.
Yeah.
It's like, who cares? She's
right.
A fucking nightmare. Like,
well, anyway, I think Nancy Mace has thrown her weight behind Scalise now.
Now she's with Scalise.
Yeah, but a few of them, like Chip Roy,
he said he's not going to vote for either one, right?
He said he would vote for Jordan, but not Scalise, and Scalise is the one they're putting forth. So I don't know how many they can lose. I mean, like,
What about Matt Gates?
presumably
Did they get him, or is he
Matt
still?
Gates was pro Jordan, if I remember right. So I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know that Steve Scalise is terrible. He's not as terrible as Jim Jordan, but
I always like when they call him Jim Jordan and it's spelled G-Y.
yeah, GYM. Yeah, it's good.
I think it's insane that they would have him be the Speaker of the House. I think they already said that like a bunch of college wrestlers have come out and said they'll like 5 or 6 of the victims already like spoke out. Like
Yeah.
it's just gonna bring more attention to like
Yeah.
the fact that this dude's a fucking creep.
Well,
Well, the funny thing about Scalise, before we move on to the next thing, is that like this guy is such a weirdo. He got his, so this guy's going to become potentially the Speaker of the House. Right now, he's like what, the majority whip or something.
yeah.
He's already like, he's like the lieutenant governor or vice president of the House to begin
Sure.
with. So it should be like an easy, like, yeah, we're going to put him in next. But this guy got this most famous, besides saying that dumbass thing about David Duke, he's most famous for having his like whole side, like his whole left, the right side blown out by an AR-15. And then this fucking guy, you would think like, oh man, maybe he learned something and he put in some like necessary gun reform, something to just get these guns on the street. No, what did he do? He decided, no, I'm gonna become even like more pro AR-15s and like dangerous weapons of war. Make him like, oh, that when you say that around a gun nut, like weapons of war, and they're like, it's technically not a weapon of war, it does not fit official. Like, what? This is stupid. So you're saying basically this gun still, because they always claim that when the government overreacts, then we have these guns to defend ourselves. So you're basically saying you have this inadequate weapon against our military.
Yeah.
So
that
why would you
never
want
added up to me.
What?
That never added up to me.
Well, yeah. So this guy's going to become the Speaker of the House, supposedly, even though he's currently suffering from blood cancer. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. And he wears a mask because he's undergoing these treatments.
Which is weird because that makes him woke, because
Republicans
are anti-mask, anti-vaccine. And this guy wearing a mask because he doesn't want to, he's immunocompromised from his cancer. But this guy is going to be the Speaker of the House, and he is having his cancer treatments and everything fully paid for by the government, our tax dollars and everything. And then this guy will have no problem trying to push in any effort he can to make sure to remove healthcare for people or expanding healthcare in any way, or, in the end, just trying to strip it away. So this guy can go suck an egg. He sucks. I find him less repulsive than McCarthy. I
would agree.
Such a weasel, is like just a weasel. I mean, he's just a big, tall weasel asshole. This guy doesn't seem as threatening. He should have said, "I'm like David Duke, but more lovable."
He seems like
and huggable.
He seems like he'd be reasonable and kind of like willing to cut deals when needed.
Would you think you could have a beer with him, Joseph? I know you
were absolutely last
time. You were like, which Republican sociopath can I have beer with?
I don't really ask if I could have a beer with him. I ask, is this a person with whom I could squat down beside a Nissan Titan and have a quick smoke? That's my measuring stick.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I mean, I know that's later in the list, but we could just get this out of the way.
Okay,
yeah. So no big deal. This is just the continuing of the Ratchet. Is that a word?
Yeah, Ratchet.
Where she is Ratchet and looks like Ratchet from the Chippendales Rescue Rangers. The mouse, right?
Yeah.
Ratchet, I think. Or was it Gidget? Gadget. Sorry, not Ratchet. Ratchet, I think, is a transformer. I don't know.
Well,
so there's just there's so many funny like pictures, like, so someone, I guess, in a Walmart parking lot, she's with her ex-husband, and Robert's just like sneaking in the background, like trying to get a quick puff. And it's really funny. It's like, who cares? Why are you hiding this? Like,
Yeah.
first of all, but like, man, some of these tweets are so fucking funny. Let me see if I can find it. Not Lauren Boebert. This is this account. She goes, there she is. There's my girl. God love you, Lauren Boebert. What will I ever do without you? And it's just her crouching in a parking lot smoking. And then this person goes, hey, Lauren Boebert, please take your squat break behind someone else's on Titan. I said, if Lauren Boebert wasn't a trash bag, racist, homophobic, fascist grifter goblin, she'd actually be kind of cool.
Yeah.
I like Beetlejuice too. You know, I haven't had any the marijuana lately, but once in a while, I like to partake. And I know I don't know if I want to vape it, but
yeah,
you know, she'd probably be like kind of cool if she wasn't.
Oh yeah, I'll bet you she's a
if
party.
She wasn't. If Lauren Boebert wasn't Lauren Boebert, and she was someone else,
yeah,
maybe she'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I would say if you completely stripped all elements of her personality out of her head and replaced them with even moderately okay thoughts, you know, like you'd find in the average golden retriever.
Somebody who just wants to smoke a cigarette when they
yeah,
you know.
That's a real relatable problem. Like, I am gonna smoke and I'm tired because I wore these heels and I'm just gonna shimmy down in my skin tight dress
with my ex-husband,
hotbox this cigarette behind.
She was not her in any way whatsoever. It was a completely different person. Lauren Boebert would be pretty cool.
Yeah, right. I agree. But she's not. She is.
Yeah, these pictures are so funny. It's like, it's just, oh, man, this content's great. Keep it coming, Lauren.
Yeah,
like,
she really is.
I want you gone by like 2020. Like, you better be gone and get the fuck out of here by 2025 January. But like, for now, keep doing this shit.
Exactly. And now you can do it with the writer's strike over, because this was good comedy writing. This was
did this even need to be written? I mean, she just got caught smoking a cigarette. Trashy shit, you know. Like, and I say that I'm not attacking people for, I mean, smoking is a disgusting habit, and anyone that the fact that more people have died from secondhand smoke is disgusting in itself too.
Yeah.
This bitch had no problem blowing a big fat plume after a pregnant woman.
Right.
A woman who looked like she was probably in her third trimester, maybe even more, was like, excuse me, Miss Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, can you not blow your big fat plumes in the where you're not supposed to be doing that anyway? And Lauren Boebert said, fuck you, bitch.
It is bizarre that we have some, like, and I know how conspiracy theorist this sounds, but like, you have Trisha Cothram in North Carolina, who threw the balance of the North Carolina House to a veto-proof majority for the Republicans. And then you had George Santos, who was like a comically dishonest stealth.
He ran as a Republican. He was Republican.
I'm talking about a mix of people. Some straight up Republicans, like Lauren Boebert, who clearly is dumb. I mean, like, and I'm not. She's like Tuberville dumb. She's a dumb person who never should have gotten into Congress. No. And then you have George Santos, who's like very dishonest, and you had a few from Florida that were like that.
He's a literal John Lovitz character.
Yes, right, yeah.
He's
and then you had
the lying character that John Lovitz did.
You had Trisha Cothram, who was a clearly some sort of stealth. I don't know what you would call that, but she turned Republican once she got in office. There's another one in Florida that was like that.
That woman, who's like, I'm Jewish. Oh wait, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. My grandfather was a Nazi.
She meant she literally said, I'm Jewish, and then later her explanation was, I meant I'm Jewish. Like
I meant someone to say, I hate the Jewish. Sorry, you know how it is. Love, hate. You know,
this feels real coordinated to me. It feels like a bunch of wealthy people.
Dallas, that mayor recently.
Yeah.
Right.
It feels like wealthy people realized Republicans they're not winning popular elections, and they're less likely to win in the future. So
especially in like cities and
yes. So we need a good mix of people who are willing to run as Democrats and turn Republican. We need people that are willing to be completely out of their element and do whatever we say, like Boebert. We need people that can like seem progressive before they're elected. Like I think
I think it needs to be like a fucking background check on these people. But even then, look at Kristen Sinema. Kristen Sinema is a great example of somebody who was literally a super lefty. She was a dumpster diver, and then like she gets into power. Was she in Congress before she was in Senate?
I don't think so. But I think
she ran as a kind of like a left of center Democrat in Arizona, and she just goes more and more to the right on a corporate level, fucks over everything that any big thing that Democrats try to do, especially in the first 2 years of Biden, and just fucking sabotaged it, and then decided to not run as Democrat. So it's hard to like.
I think Cinema's just a shitty person, but I think
she's a shitty person, but it's hard to like. I think the problem is most politicians are shitty people, and not every one of them works in good faith. And some of these people could be a Democrat or a Republican if they lived in the right state, or if they lived in the, like I said, like Arnold Schwarzenegger when he ran for governor of California. Of course, he's an actor, but again, a lot of these people are actors anyway. That he would never, like, if he ran in like Mississippi, he would be a hard right Republican.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I don't know. It feels like a coordinated effort,
it definitely is. It's like this shit needs to be like sniffed out, and more background checks need to be put on these fucking people before the primary happens.
And Democrats, I think they can make their own rules and stuff. I mean, like the Republicans do that all the time, where they're like, "Well, we're not going to have debates, or we're going to do this."
It should be illegal for a fucking person to switch parties in the middle of their fucking. Like if you want to run as finish your term and then run as a Republican, go ahead.
Yeah, they're not going to do that, but there should be some mechanism by which
a recall should be allowed immediately.
Yeah, or like there should be some recourse. I don't know what the deal is, but like
don't do that.
It's just such bullshit. Anyway, so
it is bullshit. I think you should be allowed to recall a fucking candidate, a politician that does that.
Yeah.
I think like all positions should be allowed to
be
recalled.
But you don't want like a situation where it's like well, okay, so now instead of switching parties, I'm going to change myself to just caucusing with the other side. I'm still going to be a Democrat. That's what Kristen
Sinema did. She didn't become a Republican. She switched to
independent and
claims to still caucus with the Democrats, which still gives. But she waited till what's his face won his election in Georgia. So that they would have 50 votes. And then Kristen Sinema becomes this like, I don't know. I think she's still kind of stuck with the Dems. I don't know if there's been any big votes where she like switched because she's now an independent. I don't know, but
I don't think so. But you also wonder like if Democrats aren't calling things to vote because they know they don't have her, you know?
Maybe it's possible. Yeah.
Sometimes she doesn't even have to vote against something.
No, she'll just presence.
Yeah, she'll just say I'm not supporting that, and then they won't bring it to vote. So it's hard to say how much damage she's caused. Yeah.
You gonna talk to that crazy cat lady? No, I don't think so. Well, that's what I mean. It's like unpredictable, but I feel like it's like you said, it's been this. It feels like it's been happening a lot lately. It's been happening mostly on the Dem side, and less on the Republican side.
And well, I think the reason is that the Republicans and their donors have realized they're not going to win.
In certain areas, they're not going to win. They're just never going to win, and there's going to end these bigger elections that happen. They're not going to win in those either.
Yeah,
but I don't know. So I mean, you brought up George Santos anyway. Yeah. Something happened to him recently.
Yes.
What happened?
He got hit with a superseding indictment, which means that there's a bunch of other
23?
crimes. Yeah, and they're like big ones, like credit card theft and fraud and stuff.
How is this fucker not? is still in Congress at this
Yeah,
point.
I don't. That's a crazy thing. I know 6 Republicans from New York, congressional Republicans today, said they support expelling him, and that's kind of a big turning point. But the Republicans can't afford to lose votes, any
They
seats.
can
Like,
afford to lose him. I mean, if you have him around longer and longer, he's gonna be a bigger stain. You know, it's like the same thing with what's his face in Jersey, Bob Menendez. It's like,
yeah,
you know, unless he is proof that he doesn't have gold bars in his closet.
well, at least there, the Democrats have kind of come out and uniformly condemned him and said he should resign.
But they're not doing that on the Republican side. They're not coming
No.
out. Marjorie Taylor Greene is jovially taking pictures with him, having
Yep.
conversations and loving him. And you know, he's just this like looking goofster scam artist.
Yeah.
I mean, only thing I could hope for is that people in this area wisen up, or maybe he doesn't run again, he just drops out. I could see that happening too. But I don't understand how this guy's so protected. Like, this guy should be gone by now. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
This
The
one feels
Democrat
weird.
did a half of one of the things this guy's accused of doing and has
Yeah.
been indicted for. That Democrat would have left like,
Yeah, there's so many big things here, and a lot of them seem like I assume some of these are just like not even a matter of proving it or not proving it. I bet you a lot of these are just like matters of fact. Like,
there's so many people I feel like on that side that are just so willing to like give up their fucking power for like the Bowman thing. I remember when that happened where he pulled the wrong thing.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
there were like people like, oh, should he resign? Like, no, why the fuck should he?
Right.
If he resigns, then like there should be like 20 Republicans have to resign that like are guilty of like so many
Yeah,
things.
a lot more.
Get the fuck out of here. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, George Santos is a fucking clown, and
Yeah.
his presence again, he's literally a John Lovitz character.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Acting. That's what he says on his last after he loses. He's like, acting.
How do you do it? Acting.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, he's like like multiple aliases. Dude's like Clayface.
Yeah.
I remember posted the casting of the Fantastic Four, and it was all like his versions of him. Shikara, whatever his drag character.
That's
like,
funny.
that's so funny. Like Anthony Mulder, George Santos. I forgot what the fourth one was, but like casting of the Fantastic Four sucks.
Yeah.
Tommy Tuberville.
Yeah.
Tumbleville. Tommy
It was
Tumbleville, more like it, right?
Yeah, it was really funny. He had gone on Twitter, I think it was, and said like every time he sees Biden, he worries about him falling down the stairs, which is a dig at Biden's age. But then
which is funny because how old's this fuck?
Yeah, Tuberville's not exactly young, I don't think. I bet you he looks older than he really is.
Yeah, he's only 38.
Tommy, no, he's old. He's 69.
Dude.
So he's like a year away from 70. Anyway, the internet immediately found an awesome picture of him falling down a flight of stairs as he exited a plane. I saw a lot of them put to music on TikTok.
With Genesis or whatever.
Yeah, that was great.
With the drums and he falls. There's a couple of good ones I saw.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. That guy sucks. And he's also like holding up the Senate still, right?
Yeah.
Like,
he's holding up any military appointments. He's holding up a lot of things.
Which is insane too, with everything going on with Israel.
Yeah.
And this fucking guy is still.
I saw someone today comment on how like he's holding up these military promotions, but he's never served, and a few other Republicans. And I agree that all these people are assholes, but like it's not like you need to have served to have a say in like
But I think it's a good point to bring up. Like,
I do too, yeah.
He's holding things up for disingenuous reasons.
Right.
Like,
and he doesn't
they're all petty, right? None of this is like any
he wants to make it so that women in the service can't travel to get abortions. That they have to live under whatever abortion rules are in whatever state they happen to be stationed in.
Yeah, that's bullshit. Fuck
and
him.
Right now, the military says if the healthcare you need isn't available in your area, we will, at no expense to you, fly you to where you can get it. And usually, or often probably, it's like,
it's ridiculous that the military has to do that. It should be anywhere in the United States.
Well, there are probably some instances where it's like, oh, I got a bad burn and I need to go to a specific burn unit for this type of doctor. They don't have one locally. That's different. So they've always, the military has always done this, meaning like.
But that's a good reason. That's not because this state has made it illegal is fucking insane.
Honestly, in my view, the correct answer isn't that these service members shouldn't have to travel at all. That shouldn't be the question. They should be offering this service on base,
military bases. This is not this is a military base, dude. You get right. This has no jurisdiction to
not part of the state. It's a military base
or any federal building.
Yeah,
like right, where the governor has no fucking say.
So, that's really what should be done. I mean, I kind of get like, because he's always like the expense of flying people, blah blah, and babies and blah.
Fuck yeah.
All right, well, we can get rid of the expense argument real quick. We'll just have them there. You'd have a visiting nurse do it or something.
Yeah, it's complete bullshit.
Yeah,
like put up a fucking tent in someone's house and be like, oh, this is now officially a military base.
Right.
The United States was sanctioned as a temporary post. So ridiculous. Like we're becoming so backwards. It's at this
I was thinking that today. I was talking to my wife, and because my kid is in like some sort of class where she's bringing home a robot baby, and she has to care for the baby. She has a bracelet that she has to wear. Anyway, but I was telling my wife I took a class in high school, probably 1986, and the class was like human development or something. It's basically sex ed. And in this class, this is 1986 in Florida, the most conservative area in Florida. I took a full-on sex ed course in the public high school, taught you how to use condoms. The teacher busted out like cucumbers, and was like putting condoms on them. And they talked about masturbation. They talked about sexually transmitted diseases. There's one whole lesson, I remember it real clearly, where it was all curse words. And she'd be like, what does going down on someone mean? And it was like, I was in 11th grade, I think. And
go ahead.
Well, I was telling my wife, I was like, that was like no big deal back then. I don't think I even needed a permission slip. Today, they would literally send in a SWAT team if a teacher mentioned that stuff.
Definitely.
It's because we've gone back so far in time. Like
my sex ed class, we just watched gladiator films all day.
You ever been in a men's locker room? You ever been in men's
watch gladiator films,
Billy? Yeah. You ever what was that from? Airplane?
Yes.
Yeah.
The creepy pilot.
Yeah.
Like, you ever watch gladiator films?
Well, it is crazy because I remember this course vividly. I remember like nervously and excitedly saying the word like fuck in class, like for the first time, because she'd be like, what does it mean to fuck, and I was like but it was like a real, but it was like real normal. Like no one, it felt like very scandalous at the time to me as like a 16-17-year-old, but like this is a curriculum. She had handouts with like dicks on them and stuff, and
the penis.
Yeah, like exactly. Like anatomically correct puppets and stuff. But like that would literally get someone.
Weird day for Elmo. Tickle the Elmo is a straight. I didn't like that one.
Bad touch. Bad touch.
My party
Billy. But like, if a teacher did that today, they would probably be on trial. I'm not kidding.
They're so fucking backwards. These assholes who claim like, oh, I'm not PC or I'm not woke or anything like that.
Amazing.
Dude, people are like worse because you literally are sending like shit. Yeah, you're right. Back in the 80s, all these boomers that say shit like, we used to say stuff like this all the time. Mm-mm. Yeah, but they'll never bring up the shit like like you said, that like how we had like said, and it wasn't a big fucking deal.
Wasn't a big deal. Wasn't.
All
I
this
mean,
stuff, even the stuff like the attacks on like trans people, most people never gave a shit. Whenever I see like somebody argue, they get up, like they bring up like trans people, I'm like, you don't even know any. You just bring it up because you watch Fox News all the time. You have no fucking clue. You have no opinion on these people.
That's funny. I remember for our school talent show, we a couple people I knew that were in a legitimate band, and I just kind of like goofed around on guitar. We played the Leader of the Pack song in drag in the high school auditorium. It was no big deal. I mean, it was like kind of a big funny thing at the time, but like all sorts of stuff that was like,
it was like Tool wearing like big boobs and everything on stage. Like that's in Florida, like he was defying like what literally could have been a crime against. Like he could have went to jail for that. Like
which is
how backwards these fucking people are.
Crazy. I mean, like I am stunned that I don't know, like you wonder too, like, well, what I remember like watching movies like Porky's and all sorts of like pretty raunchy films.
Nothing more progressive than Porky's.
No, I mean like that look, that was regressive, I suppose, but like we had a very liberal or libertine
I think we were also
attitude.
neglected a lot, and I think parents didn't pay attention as much. Or again, there was no Fox News to like a main. So you gotta understand, there's always been like right-wing news and right-wing like radio, AM radio. It's always existed in some form, but the reach was never that crazy that it would infect the mind of a majority of people. And
but like
Fox News
I didn't take that course alone. I wasn't the only kid in that class. There were dozens and dozens of people in my class, and there were dozens of like almost everyone.
Was that in too? Was that Jersey?
No, that was Florida. Fort Myers,
Florida back then was a different state.
It was different.
It was never a red state back then. It was like a blue state.
It was a blue state at the time, but it wasn't like, it was still Florida. I mean, even the Florida Democrats back then were not.
Oh, I know.
Liberal.
It's not like,
I mean,
it's not San Francisco or something like that. But it's not. It wasn't though this like insanely right-wing state that it is now, or what the Republicans claim it to be.
Well, we were talking about like because my daughter is in not human development, like a home ec class, and that's where she's doing the baby and everything. But could you imagine if any of those topics were broached in a class
how did this baby come about?
Right.
You know what? I feel like I was teacher. It's odd that you 12 and 13. How old is she? 13 now?
13. Well, no, 12. She'll be 13.
Okay. Well, these like, it's odd that you 12-year-olds in this classroom, some 13-year-olds, we're teaching you how to raise a baby and not telling you anyway how to make sure you don't have a baby at the age of like
13,
14, you know?
Unreal.
It's just
anyway.
Yeah.
I know that's kind of a digression, but it is real bizarre how backwards we've become.
But again, and that's why I'm making fun of Boebert.
Yeah.
Because she's like an example of the hypocrisy of that, like these so-called Christian right people and all that, this demand for like this morality, this lie that they push. It's not, it goes against human nature, it goes against how we economically and everything like that, how we live culturally. It's hypocritical, and Boebert is like, that's why it's funny, but it's not funny because she's a fucking hypocrite and she's a liar, just like a lot of these other people are, and they're being exposed for that. So it's not gonna make a fucking difference.
No, but yeah. Well, I guess what is that?
Oh, the last one is funny.
Robert
Kennedy, or as I like to call him, old gravel voice,
like Patty and Selma's long lost brother.
Yeah. What?
Who was the MacGyver character they liked?
My ex-boyfriend, Robert Kennedy. This is Robert Kennedy.
He does. He sounds like someone literally emptied an ashtray.
Like if somebody gave him one of those voice boxes, like That would be more pleasant.
Yeah.
That would be more pleasant. Like that. Let me tell you, the worst thing that ever happened to me was I was like 17 or whatever, working at a market, and like one of those people showed up with like,
oh yeah,
and a test for me to not just burst out laughing like a total fucking idiot.
yeah.
Now,
Yeah, we've got
the peas. I'm like, what the fuck? Like fucking cigarette coming out,
yeah,
hole in their neck.
yeah. Oh god, that's so awful.
Yeah, Kelly apartment.
He decided to run as an independent.
Yeah.
And I guess he was real like upset that the Democrats wouldn't let him debate or something. I don't know. It just seemed like
what? This is okay. The whole Robert Kennedy thing is bizarre. All he's done this entire time is gone on right-wing podcasts or right-wing leaning podcasts, right-wing friendly. Okay, we'll say, is Joe Rogan a right-wing podcast? I think it is, but it's still considered like a middle of the road podcast. It is right-wing as fuck.
Yeah.
He goes on that. He's not going on like they asked, because what's his face, Sam Cedar said he used to work with them back in the day. They worked on like what was it, Air America?
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and he said like he would have had him on, but he was only going on all these right-wing shows, and all these right-wing people would prop him up. Remember there was that picture of him, and he was like doing push-ups, and his weird muscle body that he has, that weird like 70-year-old muscle body. It's like, it's like you got muscles, but it's weird,
leathery.
It's like still got some weird fat parts or whatever, because you're like gravity is just taking over your old bones. And
like your body is sculpted, but it's sculpted out of beef jerky. It's like
that was microwaved a little bit.
It's not bacon, it's sizzling.
Yeah, there's something. Old leather couch. And he was like being backed, he was being propped up like Charlie Kirk would prop him up. I'm like, who? All these all these like Republican media people, taking photos with Roger Stone and fucking Steve Bannon, and it's like, who is this supposed to appeal to? I said that from day one when he announced he was running. I'm like, he's run to the right of Biden, which makes no sense. If you're running in a Democrat, if you want to primary Biden,
it's the Bernie lane. You got to get in the Bernie lane.
Supposed to be to the left.
Yeah.
You're supposed to say, we're Democrats, we want these things. Biden has not given us, we want better healthcare, we want better, whatever. Like, he's running to the right. He's running like a crypto scheme, Robert Kennedy. He's like everything that he used to be like super pro environment. Now he's like kind of muddled that. Like, it's bizarre. And then he announces that he's going to run as an independent. And then the Republicans freak out, and they're like, now Donald Trump's like, they're doing Oppo research. I'm like, what do you mean doing Oppo research?
Yeah.
Your guys were propping him up. These people that's how I know, like, these people are dumb as fuck. Like, they are so fucking dumb. Like, you were the guys propping up. Now I got to do Oppo research. What? The Oppo research is that you and your whatever donors were propping him up? Like,
it is weird. I mean, like that was never going to appeal to anyone on the Democratic side. It was only going to appeal to
weird celebrities that are not considered conservative that were coming out to support. But
if the nominee is anyone other than Trump on the Republican side, Robert Kennedy is like a great second choice for those people.
What?
If the Republicans wind up nominating like Tim Scott or Ron DeSantis or Nikki Haley, then all those MAGA chuds, a chunk of them will go to Kennedy.
They're going to go to Kennedy now because Kennedy, you're right. If it's not Trump, because Kennedy is a far right anti-vaxxer. The anti-vax movement has been completely co-opted by the right wing.
Plus, he buys into, he's part of that whole Q Kennedy mythology. That Kennedy had like divine blood in him or something. I mean, there's a whole like weird, bizarre belief. There's enough of them to completely tank whoever the Republican
It could
nominee
take
is.
a couple of percentage points away from the Republican very easily.
Honestly, if it keeps up in this direction, Biden should just start funneling money to Kennedy. I mean, like,
well, that's what they always did. The Republicans always did that with the Green Party.
yeah,
That's a fact. You'd hear that all the fucking time. That
yeah,
Republican
but
donors would be giving tons of money to the Green
I
Party.
would 100% encourage, like, if it were a 3-person race, Biden, any Republican other than Trump, and Kennedy, Democrats should secretly support Kennedy's run because he's going to be chipping away at whoever the Republican is.
Yeah, and so the fixes are like the right wing's already like trying to wake up and like realize that they have to come out on their fence. So he went on like Sean Hannity, and I guess he expected like this,
softball, yeah,
softball, because they've been friendly to him for months, but because Sean Hannity is literally Trump's guy, literally, because he's like got business with him, and he's like, he's like, I think he's been incriminated. Wasn't he like, was that lawyer or whatever that ended up going to Michael Cohen, went to jail?
Yeah.
You know what his other client was?
Yeah, it was Hannity. That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he is literally in line with Trump, and he goes on and he brings up all the things. He's like, well, I don't get it. Why don't the Dems like you? You like this, you like this, you
right.
Pro environment, you're pro this, pro this. And he's like, and Robert Kennedy's is like, no way, I'm right wing as fuck. He's like,
right.
You're just pulling out things from 40 years ago that I said. And you, I don't care. I don't care if it's offensive to make fun of this guy. Sounds like a gargoyle. You're going to run fucking office and you sound like that. Expect to get made fun of. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like,
so it is.
Like, come on. Like,
yeah.
Like if a guy like, just hopped on stage all the time with one leg. It wasn't but he hopped on stage and refused to use his other leg. People might comment on that.
Yeah.
Like,
and
what's up with the guy hopping? He doesn't know how to use both legs, Like, I don't know, some weird.
Kennedy has just staked out such a bizarre lane in this race.
It's just a grift. He's just continuing the grift. It's just funny that because the Republicans were so arrogant about it. I never understood it. It's like, yeah, he's gonna take away votes from the Dems.
Yeah, it was never gonna happen.
Is he going on like Rachel Maddow or anything like that? No. He's going on
Fox and Friends.
Fucking Joe Rogan and Ben Shapiro. Oh, that's weird. Why would he do that? Is he like trying to get the message out to like people who don't agree with him? No, he agrees with everything they agree with.
Yeah.
Why is he running as a Dem? Because he's gonna take votes away from Biden, brother. And it's like, no, why would he? He's to the right. That makes no sense.
Yeah, that move was just a fundamental misunderstanding of like modern politics. That move was like, what will really bring the kids back to the box office? Another Indiana Jones movie. It's the same mentality. It's like Kennedy has like some sort of boomer mythology about him, but like but
he's not even that well known. Like, he's never held office. He's always been kind of on the fringe. Like, even when he was more left leaning, he was considered more extremist on the left, and he always was an anti-vaxxer. But like I said, being an anti-vaxxer was like,
it was different back then.
It was different. It was like, I don't know about this guy, but it wasn't like it is now, where it's like, dude, you're like a threat to public safety.
Yeah, but back in like the 90s or whatever, or probably the 90s, if someone came to me and was like, I'm skeptical of vaccines, I would be like, well, let me hear what you have to say on it. Like, at that point, I was like, I'm also skeptical of the government.
Got a chrome in it, brother.
Right. And then if they started doing but they wouldn't have convinced me, but like I would have been susceptible to like listening to that argument. These days I'm just like, I ain't got time for that shit. I've seen what not vaccinating does. I mean, there's enough studies now so that every once in a while there's a measles outbreak or something. I mean, like
whooping cough that wasn't around. California brought it back. Like,
I know enough about life to know that that's a bullshit argument now. But before the science was in my head or stuff, I mean, Oh, you're right. It was a different time back then. So
I would say this to people too, whenever they say like, even if it's not like poison or whatever, they also believe like they're putting a microchip in us.
yeah,
It's like, dude, why do they need?
yeah, they don't need to.
You're not that important.
Yeah.
Like, are you that? Like, that's like a form of narcissism. Like, you really think? Like, I always say the argument about the vaccine was like, it was in the government's best interest to vaccinate everyone so that we would get back to work.
Yeah.
And make our bosses money and have a functioning, so people would go to restaurants and go to the movies and go to hotels and go to amusement parks.
Yeah. On what planet does it make sense for a government to intentionally debilitate the population? You know,
they could turn us into zombies, bro.
I mean, that might have made sense like in the 800s or whatever, but like it doesn't make any sense anymore.
It's always a like fantastical thing. That's like the same thing with like what's going on in Israel. Like, it's very easy to turn into this fantastical thing with religion, and it's just like, dude, it's a fucking border dispute. That's really what it is.
It is.
One side has all the power, and the other side has none.
Yeah,
like,
it's asymmetrical.
So the Robert Kennedy thing is really funny. It's incredibly comical. It's gonna be very funny to watch all these avid right wingers, Republicans, whatever, who were like supporting him, thinking that they got some spoiler candidate that was going to take away votes from Biden, and not realizing when he and he wasn't being funded by the Democrats in any way. Democrats were like,
no, it'll be hilarious if he maintains like 3% of the vote and he gets to go to the debates between Biden, the Republican, and they also invite Kennedy, because that'll just be hilarious, because Kennedy will just agree with all the things the Republican says.
Or he would what he would do is he'd be to the right, like Ron DeSantis, who is probably, when it comes to all the candidates that are on the debate stage right now, is the one who claims to be the biggest anti-vaxxer.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Yes. Like, I don't think there's anyone. I'm surprised that's been brought up. He's like proud of it. Did you see that thing though? It came out about he can't hide.
They have to release COVID numbers. For a long time, they had been not releasing the COVID numbers. And then they had like aggregated them weekly or monthly or something. Anyway, so now a court determined they have to release the figures. I forget if it's weekly or daily, but they have to do much more transparent reporting. But they have like 30 days to comply, so they aren't doing it yet. I looked, but
they're gonna try to defy it or whatever. But
that's what I was gonna say.
You're gonna have Biden on stage, and he's gonna be like, "These people are imbeciles."
Yeah,
like he'll do that thing where he's like, "We need to be vaccinated. We gotta protect our youth.
Come on, Jack.
The older. We gotta protect the people so we can have a country that functions." These jackasses over here.
Yeah.
Humpty and Huey and no, what was it? What would he call them? Who were those guys from Alice in Wonderland?
Oh, Tweedledee and Tweedledum.
Yeah, Tweedledee and Tweedledum over here telling you not to get vaccinated. Dude, that would kill. Imagine that they were both on stage and he called Ron and said, Robert Kennedy, Tweedledee and Tweedledum.
Yeah.
They're telling you not to get vaccinated. That's insane. Don't listen to these people.
Yeah, I would go with Tweedledum and Tweedledummer, but those
you just got to, you don't fuck with it. Everybody knows Tweedledee and Tweedledum. Leave it alone. Why you're not? I'm kidding.
I don't know. It is. I'm glad Kennedy's going independent. Good for him.
I'm glad. Now, could he still take? I mean, he couldn't take those weird Jimmy Dore leftists.
Look, there's always...
But they weren't going to vote for Biden anyway.
Exactly. They were going to vote for someone else. They would write in a Green Party candidate, or they would write in like lizard people, or they would write in something. Because like there's always a percentage, just like that one dentist who's like, fine, shirtless gums, I'm good for you. There's always one person out of 1,000 or whatever that just votes inexplicably.
And you
you just got to deal with it. You got to be like, okay, that's who they are. So
Well, it's like, again, it just makes it so. We'll wrap this up in a minute. It makes it so funny because it'd be like if the Democrats during like the Clinton years were just propping up what's his face so much. Who was the guy who ran for the Green Party? He came
Nader, Ralph Nader.
Nader, yeah. If they were just like propping up Nader so much, and they were like he's gonna take votes away from the Republican, which would make no
Right,
sense.
yeah. So it's
And
similar,
then be like, Nader decides to run Green Party. What?
Yeah.
What? Like that's like what's happening there. It's so funny. And again, it's like, why would any Democrat vote for Kennedy unless they were like, I don't know, they lost one of their major senses.
They have like dementia. They think it's 1962 or something.
Robert Kennedy survived his assassination attempt. I'm gonna vote for him.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I sound like this because I'm an old confused person.
I guess we had old Sirhan all wrong.
Good old Sirhan.
I mean, like, that's what would have to happen
Why
for them.
does Robert Kennedy now sound like he drank turpentine for the past 10 years? That's right. Yes. I'm my father.
He does sound like
you say?
He's gargling a porcupine.
Every night I drink a cup of porcupine needles. Goes down smooth.
Just like Laramie cigarettes.
That whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, all right.
Well, I root for Robert Kennedy. I hope he runs a bizarre, weird campaign filled with all kinds of Woody Harrelsons, all versions of Woody Harrelsons from American Psycho, Woody Harrelson, to Woody from Cheers, Woody Harrelson. I always love that he got to be Woody.
Yeah, that was a good one.
It's like amazing. They're like, oh shit, your name's hired.
Yeah, you're in.
You're in. Hear this.
I'm reading for the part of Woody.
What's your name? Woody. You know what? It's over. Come on, get in.
You're in.
We're already starting the film in an hour.
Well, all right.
Yeah, that was definitely like that is to me has been like it's almost like a setup to a joke or something.
Yeah, it is. I guess we'll see how it plays out, but
I bet he'll drop out or something if he's a real threat to the Republicans. They'll
pay him off or something. Yeah. Honestly, he could have like if he wanted to be in public service, he could have probably kept his weirdo religious inclinations or anti-vaxxer inclinations and could have just been a fundraiser for the Democrats and be given like a nice ambassadorship somewhere or something.
Yeah, the moon.
Cack.
Antarctica. The North Pole. Go hang out with Santa. Fucking weirdo.
Have photos of him like having state dinners with like a bunch of penguins and shit.
Yeah, those weird claymation characters from Elf.
Yeah, little penguins just like having serious conversation.
Sending a message back, hanging out with the Yeti.
Right. I have begun talks with the heat miser, and I'm
the Yeti's he's the perfect ambassador because he sounds more like a Yeti. the Chewbacca.
He speaks their native tongue.
Yeah. Basically part of the tribe.
Big progress in talks with the abominable snowmen today.
Bumbles do bounce.
There you go.
That's what I've learned today.
Yeah. Woof. All right.
No, the Republican, if he's a true threat, they'll give him they'll probably give him the dad treatment. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah, no, I can see that.
Not that. I mean, I don't want that to happen.
No, but yeah.
But I mean, like, I could just imagine them like that. Actually, we'll wrap this up in a second. Hannity made sure to like bring up all his like past like liberal lefty credentials. And like I said, Robert Kennedy immediately brought up like, well, you're bringing up like old stale things from 40 years ago. You're bringing up stuff I didn't say.
Yeah.
And it's just really funny because they can't attack him for being further to the right.
No,
they can't attack him
that's their position. Yeah.
They can't attack him for being more anti-vaxxer than another candidate.
Right.
You can't attack, like, he's got him in a weird position. So all they can do now is just try to lie and say that he's to the left, and then Robert Kennedy will just come out and be like, I'm not.
Yeah, he'll just say, yeah, I may have believed that at one point I was wrong. Now I'm with you, Sean. You know, like that.
Yeah. And heard you like crypto, so here.
Yeah. You know. Have you seen my new fracking NFT?
My new what?
Fracking NFT.
Fracking, yeah, that's how much he hates the environment now.
Each one is powered with the bones of a spotted snowy owl. Each one is
yeah.
I just put them in a machine, grind them up.
Grind them up, yep.
Yeah.
That's how right wing I am. All right, well, on that note, I'm Rob Israel.
I'm Joseph K.
You still going about
that?
Thank you for listening to You Still Going On About That. Please like, comment, share, and if you haven't done already, please follow us on Instagram, YSGOAT, Facebook, YSGOAT, and Twitter, YSGOAT. Thank you, and have a great day.